We have just picked up a new wreck that's got part of the interstate blocked off for the time being. This would be 24 eastbound near Murfreesboro Pike at exit 52. Also a crash up in Millersville, 65 southbound near exit 98. It's got the left lane blocked there. In Antioch, Murfreesboro Pike at Nashboro Boulevard, a crash. And also an injury act reported in the Forest Hills part of town, Old Hickory Boulevard at Hillsboro Pike. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, kids, here we are. Here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, a midweek edition. Hello, how are you? Hope your day is going well so far. It is Wednesday, July 9, 2025. I am pleased as punch to be a part of your afternoon, and thank you for being a part of ours. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of that time. We have 4 full hours to educate, entertain, inform, and otherwise thrill the masses on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As a matter of fact, there's more ways to listen than just that. You've got, obviously, the various apps that you can go to, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, our own. We invite you to download our app, take us wherever you go. That's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Of course, there's the old radio dial. And then there's Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, growing in popularity on a daily basis, especially when I give a nip slip like I did on Monday. Well, nip slip on Monday.
Anybody talk to you about that, Murph? HR,
no,
Big Boss?
No. Everybody thought it was all good. You know, nobody pays attention to us up here in the corner. We're just doing our thing. I mean, maybe, I don't know. You think YouTube will eventually ban that video because of the old boop, boop? Beep, boop,
Maybe.
Boop, boop.
Could be.
In the absence of, you may have heard, by the way, that's Jackson Williams. He's behind the glass. He is
What's
our
happening?
interim and soon-to-be erstwhile producer of the Matt Murphy Radio Show.
Does that mean I'm getting gone?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Okay.
Interim and soon-to-be erstwhile. Look up erstwhile. You'll love that.
That's an old reference.
That's old school.
That one you told Jim Thorpe when you were a child?
Yeah, I feel like we're in a black and white movie. Mm-hmm. Jackson is making sure that everything that comes out of your speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. He also screens your telephone calls when you bring them in at 615-737-9986. No Ken Weaver today. Are we allowed to tell why Ken is not here?
Yeah, they've been talking about it in the earlier shows.
All right, very good. Jay Harper is here, capably assisting us in the news closet. B. Hello, Jay. Welcome.
Howdy. Matt, it's so good to see you, brother. You look like you're doing pretty well.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. King of the osteophytes, Jay. That's what they told me. That's
okay.
right.
Just don't be asked to spell it.
No, I actually, when I was told that I had more, you had more osteophytes than I've ever seen in a surgery, and I was like, "That's great." I was all drugged up at the time. I was like, "That's great, doc.
Wow, that's cool.
That's awesome." And then my next question was, "What's an osteophyte?"
What's that?
Bone spur. But Jay doing double duty. He's handling the traffic. He's handling the news. He's got all kind of things going on in the traffic center and the news center today, and we appreciate you, Jay.
Sure, man.
Thank you so much, brother. Brother Ken Weaver. Man, it's never a good time to lose your AC. But in the middle of July, in the hot, humid conditions in Middle Tennessee, whoo, nasty. And you got to get it handled. And so he is, his AC has gone out on him. I have encouraged him to, 3 fans pointed toward the freezer, open up the freezer and just get yourself on a ladder or a high chair right in front of the freezer and just let it go to town. That's all I can tell you to do. When I was a kid, and Weaver mentioned this in our exchange, Jackson, that, you are young enough to probably never know a time where you did not have air conditioning.
Okay, so yes, but I've been to a foreign country where I did not have air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced it, but it is not a part of my daily life ever.
Well, they used to be a lot better about, once again, air conditioning is just that. If you think about breaking down the word, you are conditioning the air to your liking. So ultimately, heating a room is air conditioning as well. But we associate air conditioning with cooling a room. But most people don't know that you will never – I think this is correct. And if you heating and AC people, maybe I get Jeff Eddy on the phone who can tell me this, that if you have an air conditioner go out, and I had one go out in Birmingham in August, and we got up to about 100 degrees in our house. The wife and I went to a hotel that night.
Smart man.
That's how hot it was. And the next day, we finally got the unit replaced, and it was 100 degrees inside of the house. And the HVAC man replaces the unit and then tells us, and he told me this, saying, look, this is not going to blow cold for a while. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's supposed to blow cold. He goes, no. What comes out of these vents is never going to be, I think he said 20 degrees colder, and it might have been 10 degrees colder. He's like, the air inside of this house that it's pulling is 100 degrees, and it's going to move that through the AC unit, and it's going to move it through the coils, and it's going to spit it back out of the vents, and it's only going to be about 10 to 15 degrees colder coming out of the vents. So it's going to be hot air for about the next 10 hours. Does that make sense?
So you went back to the hotel.
So we went back to those. So, Weaver, I feel for you. But, I remember my grandparents, it was a big deal when we got the first AC at my grandparents' house. They had an attic fan. You know what an attic fan is?
No.
Kind of missed the days, man. I saw you shaking your head, Jay. I know that I'm only remembering the wonderful times of the attic fan and not the hotter days. But on a spring or a late summer day, attic fan is a huge industrial-sized fan, Jackson, that is in the attic. And the intake is in the ceiling, and it sucks air. Does not blow air, it sucks air. The idea is you open up all the windows of your house, and that huge industrial fan is going to suck the air, and it's going to create a draw all throughout the house. Constant airflow all throughout the house. Oh. I have many fond memories of that attic fan.
How would it feel when it's like 110 outside?
I mean, it's still hot as blue blazes, hot as hell.
Yeah, but at least, air is circulating.
Right. Right.
It's
helped.
better than just the stagnant, hot, humid air, believe me.
The worst.
Better than what Ken is currently going through.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
No question. So you got those attic fans. I remember that. But it was a big day when my grandpa cut a hole in the wall of the second bedroom where I stayed and put a AC unit in the hole of that wall. Oh, it's a great day. And then eventually we got one in the kitchen, too. And that was a big time.
So they put it in your room to start.
Oh, no. And so it had to blow extra cold through that room to cool
I bet
the rest.
that room was awesome.
Oh yeah, because in the middle of summer, I got quilts on because it's 58 degrees in that room.
That is my favorite way to sleep.
Oh, so good.
I leave a window open during the winter.
So good. A lot of people are telling me 20 degrees. I thought it was 20, Tracy, but thank you for the info. 20 degrees is the max for an HVAC system. So if it's 100 degrees in your house, you're not going to blow less than 80. If it's 90 degrees, so it makes sense. It makes sense because you're literally conditioning the air. So we feel for Ken Weaver. Best of luck to you. Ken should be back tomorrow. Jay Harper capably handling the news and traffic duties as we just get started today on the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Obviously, always we invite you to participate in the show in a couple of different ways. Follow me on social media. I am mostly on the X Machine, which is a cesspool of nonsense and awfulness, but I love it. And I invite you to come on over with me over there. At Matt Murphy Show is where you find me. At Matt Murphy Show. I'm trying to get to 20,000 followers by the end of the year, and I hope I can get there. So at Matt Murphy Show is the way that you go about that. Thanks to my good friend, if you're watching on Talk TV, Super Talk 99.7 WTN on the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Rumble. Huh? We're on Rumble. Have you heard about this, Jackson?
I don't know what Rumble is.
Jackson. For those who don't want their free speech violated by the stupid YouTube, yeah, I said it. Rumble is a competitor of YouTube.
Okay.
And they are dedicated to not censor, because during the COVID-19 time, there was a lot of censorship going on YouTube.
I take that back. I think they did some boxing matches on Rumble that I remember now.
Maybe so. But we're now on the Rumble. A lot of people who have cast YouTube aside have asked if we are going to get on Rumble, and it's my understanding that we are there. If you type in 997 WTN or WTN 997, I don't know which way it goes, you can perhaps find us on the Rumble machine, and we would love to have you on that side of things as well. But if you're watching on the television side of things, give us the old thumbs up on the YouTube. I can't promise that I'll show you my scar if we get to 100, but I'll do something. I mean, that's the way I roll.
Do we have an update on your challenge you gave yesterday?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to update that in the second segment. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So, yeah, the big challenge, an offer to Representative Gloria Johnson. We've got a new tally as I had a $1,000 match come in last night. I had a $500, another $500. We got a big tally to tell you about coming up in just a couple of minutes. But if you listened to the show yesterday, you probably know what we're talking about. And if not, I'll catch you up. I'll feed you baby birds. But if you're watching on the YouTube, the shirt, can you see the shirt? You see what it says?
Make my shoulder great again.
Make my shoulder great again. Thanks to my good friend, former colleague, Valerie Vining. Well, she's still a colleague. She's down in Birmingham, program director of Talk 99.5 down there. She took over for me when I left to come here. And Valerie is co-host of the morning show down there. And Valerie sent me this shirt. So thank you, Valerie.
Was she your boss?
No, I was her boss. Well, I mean, she was news director. So I wouldn't say that I was her boss from a programming standpoint when she became the morning show host. But, we were colleagues. I wouldn't consider us. We were friends and colleagues. I wouldn't consider us a boss and employee relationship.
I'd love to interview your former bosses.
Or my former underlings.
All of them. I think we should do that one day.
Believe it or not, Jackson, I had a lot of underlings, and they loved me. They loved me.
Would I qualify as an underling?
Oh, yeah. There's no question that you – I mean, you don't qualify for many things. Underling.
Hey, trust me, I know, bud. That's how I ended up here.
Underling is one of the things that you do, in fact, qualify for. So she sent this shirt in the aftermath of my shoulder surgery. So thanks, Valerie Vining. Make my shoulder great again. I mentioned that it's July 9th, a point of personal privilege day, PPP, coming from your buddy Double M, Matt Murphy. July 9th is my wife's birthday. Happy birthday to my lovely E. She is a wonderful wife, a wonderful mother of our two dogs, and a wonderful caregiver because she's helped me out through my surgery. And God bless you and love you and happy birthday. Happy birthday to my brother, who is older than me, will always be. I can't remember if my brother's 2 years or 3 years older than me, which I think tracks. But my brother Brian's having a birthday today as well, so happy birthday to Brian. It's episode 838 of our gatherings together on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's also day 170 of 1460.5 of the second term of the Trump administration. Tell me if you disagree. The first 6 months of the Donald Trump administration, we're coming up on Jan to Feb, so Jan 20 to Feb, March, April, May, June, July. So we're not yet at 6 months. And I would put this 6 months of his presidency against any second term of any president of the United States of America in history. And I am not attempting to be hyperbolic when I suggest to you that we're experiencing the best second term in American presidential history. Now, with FDR, you could potentially suggest that he had a better third term in as much as we were engaged in world conflict. There was a lot of things going on. But FDR's second term was just throwing good money after bad money, trying to catch up to the Great Depression, and it wasn't working. And it was an explosion of a creation of government programs, which also don't work. But I think we are watching, in my estimation, the finest second term of any presidency before our very eyes. Now, I come at that as a fan of Trump. FOT, I'm a FOT. I understand that many aren't. But I believe, as objective as we can be about it, considering what he has done on the inflationary front, not getting credit for the economic news that has come out regarding his first 6 months as president of the United States of America. Inflation down, unemployment remains down, job growth robust, even in the face of the removal of illegal aliens who are taking a lot of the American jobs that Americans can now take over for themselves. I mean, you look at the economic front, you look at the energy sectors, you look at tariff talk, which we were told would destroy the economy, did not happen. You look at the domestic side policy when it comes, gasoline prices, for example. You look at the price of other goods and services, that's an inflationary rate. You look at immigration and the effectiveness of the Trump administration without a single dollar more in federal spending. Before the BBB, now the BBL. You add to that the BBL and the permanent nature of the tax cuts originally initiated by Donald Trump in 2017. You add to that the Israeli conflict in the Middle East with Hamas, who attacked them, a proxy of Iran. His ability to shut that down and to create a ceasefire. His ability to create peace in Africa amongst warring nations. His willingness to change tactics with Vladimir Putin, as long as we're talking about foreign policy. Whereas he came in and said, look, I just want to stop the killing. I have no interest in who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, who's the black hat, who's the white hat. I want to stop the people from dying in this conflict, and I'll do it by any means necessary. And he attempted to talk to Vladimir Putin. And eventually he said, I'm tired of his BS. Only he didn't say BS. I can't say it. The president can say it, but I can't. But he said the word, bull squeeze. Scared you.
Yeah, you did.
Tell me. And in the meantime, I understand that many of you are still concerned about Jeffrey Epstein. We'll talk about that as well. But tell me if this is not the best 6 months in any second term in the history of the presidency. I'll listen. We have an update on my generous charitable offer to Gloria Johnson, a representative that claims that she wants to speak to all the people until conservatives or libertarians stand up and say, hey, what about us? We will update you on that. I will tell you that the Jeffrey Epstein story ain't going away, although there is a tactic at play here that I think will be successful eventually in terms of making this story go away. We'll discuss the criminal probe into John Brennan and James Comey, and the doctor of Joe Biden took to the stand, or at least took to a committee room and offered testimony about Joe Biden's mental acuity. We'll talk about all of these things today. Several guests to tell you about. We'll do that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Friends, if you own property and you're thinking about building on that property, I want you to contact Stoltz Co. today. Not tomorrow, but today, because Stoltz Co. is the premier builder in Middle Tennessee of quality, first-class structures, high-quality, customized post-frame buildings. They can build you an equestrian space if you like horses. They can build you an event space if you like to, throw lavish parties, or if you're a business and you're looking to create an event space for that business. Perhaps a garage to house all those wonderful things that you love in the garage space, or a pole barn or a barn dominium. Any of these things covered by Stoltz Co. You can do as much or as little on the project as you want. I mean, you can literally act as a general contractor of sorts, or you can just tell them your dreams, your desires, and let them go to town, and they'll hand you the keys when they're done. I mean, that's the level of customer service that you get from Stoltz Co., the one and only that I will recommend. If you're looking for a place to hang out on the weekends, if you're looking a place to have mom-in-law or dad-in-law move in on the property, get with Stoltz Co. Call 615-622-5992, 622-5992, or go to stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO.com for Stoltz Co. Friends, Matt Murphy here for the Glock Store. By now, you know that the Glock Store is worth the drive from anywhere, minutes away from the airport. They are just off Elm Hill Pike on Airlane Drive. Bottom line is this. Go by the Glock Store website. Peruse the website. Understand that the Glock Store website is famous enough that people from all across the United States of America purchase from the website to have items delivered to their homes in faraway places. We are lucky enough to have that shop right here in Nashville. As a matter of fact, you go by the Glock Store and they'll allow you to tour the manufacturing side of the facility, which is just incredible because they make so many of the Glock Store parts, the customized parts, right there on site. Upgraded triggers, extended controls. They have the lowest prices on Glock magazines in the entire country. Basically, here's the bottom line. When you name yourself the Glock Store, if it's for a Glock, if it is a Glock, if it's on a Glock, they have it in stock with all of the options, and they've got a Glocksmith. I call the Glocksmith. Gunsmith? No, Glocksmith right there on site. Purchase a 10-round test pack of 9mm ammunition for $6.99 and test fire any Glock in the rental department. It's my friends at the Glock Store, glockstore.com or shoot270.com.
And no real commitment from President Trump on sending anti-missile systems to Ukraine. We'll have the latest. Also, the Trump administration suing California. We'll tell you why. We've got those stories and more coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Man, the traffic guy sounds so much like the news guy.
Well, isn't that uncanny?
It's almost as if you're related. It's pretty incredible.
It kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, it's a little freaky. Man, we've got lots to get to. Obviously, you're the most important component of this radio show, and I absolutely love talking with you on the telephones, even if I get nasty with people from time to time. I love talking with you on the telephone. 615-737-9986. I'll try to be nice. 615-737-9986. You can also give us a hit on the super text line, same telephone number. And then, of course, go over to the YouTube chat and see how the wild things go. I mean, that's a wild group of people over there on the YouTube chat. Give us the thumbs up if you're over there. In the meantime, Rod is in Winchester. He is first up on this Wednesday edition. Hey, Rod.
Hey, I'm having a great time in Winchester. Always love listening to you, Matt, down here when I'm driving around, being 70 years old and retired. But I wanted to just give you a shout-out of encouragement. I understand what's going on with the shoulder. I had shoulder surgery from 3 tears and a bone spur back in February. It wasn't only until about 3 weeks ago that they were even letting me drive again. So you need to tell Mandis and the rest of the folks there that, you know, it's nice to have the Make My Shoulder Better shirt, but everybody at that station needs to be wearing a Make Matt Better shirt. And that's all I got for you today.
Well, thank you, Rod. Make Matt Murphy great again. Well, I mean, sexy never left. I mean, when they had the old Justin Timberlake said, I'm bringing sexy back.
Yeah.
And then Prince, remember Prince's response? I hear a lot of people out there talking about bringing sexy back. I'm here to tell you, sexy never left. I don't know. I don't know what that means, but
I'm assuming he's implying that he is sexy.
I'm assuming I'm implying that I am too, which I'm not. So that's where the analogy falls apart.
It's
Jackson,
the court of public opinion.
Sure, and yeah, everybody's got. You know what? It's opinions are like elbows. Everybody's got a couple of them, or another thing, and it stinks. So we'll tell you. We've got Scott Sepiki is going to stop by, talk about test scores. I'm not going to bore you with that, but we'll talk about test scores in the 4 o'clock hour. At 4:35, we'll talk with Congressman David Kustoff, get his perspective of the BBB and some other matters going on in Washington, D.C., and the triumphant return of Cameron Smith in the 5 o'clock hour. Plenty to do. I will remind you of our offer to Gloria Johnson coming up in just a moment, right after this news break at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. We're coming up on 3:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A full forecast and traffic in just a few minutes. And I will say, looking at radar, there are some pretty severe storms 2 hours southwest already down in the Fairview area, Columbia. So be on the lookout there. No real commitment just yet from President Trump on whether the U.S. will send anti-missile systems known as Patriots to Ukraine. The president has signaled that he wanted to do so, but no firm plan is in place as of yet. Today, the president said this.
They would like it. They've asked for it. They're very rare indeed, because a lot of systems have been sent to Ukraine. But they would like to. I know they made the request. We're going to have to take a look at it.
The Trump administration is suing California. Over what, you ask? Well, it's over the state's transgender athlete policies. ABC's Alex Stone is in L.A.
The federal government is suing California for continuing to allow transgender athletes to compete on girls' sports teams, which the Trump administration argues violates federal law. This is the latest move between the White House and Democrat-led California over trans athletes competing in girls' sports. The lawsuit saying California's rules are not only illegal and unfair, but also demeaning, quote, signaling to girls that their opportunities and achievements are secondary to accommodating boys, end quote.
Canceling your subscriptions to things can be a complicated process, and now a rule that was designed to make the process simpler is getting canceled. Here's ABC's Mike Dubusky with more.
A federal judge is now throwing out the click to cancel rule, a provision from the Federal Trade Commission that was set to take effect next week. The rule required companies to make the cancellation process for subscriptions as easy as the sign-up process. It also required them to get a customer's consent before charging for a membership. But the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals says the FTC made a procedural error by not doing a preliminary regulatory analysis, and a judge is vacating the rule.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Getting a report that I-24 westbound up near Clarksville shut down due to a serious accident. Also, we are seeing lane closures, 24 eastbound near Murfreesboro Pike due to a wreck. 65 southbound near exit 98. The accident's been moved out of the roadway, and it's blocking the left shoulder there and still causing the backup. Jefferson Street at Dr. D.B. Todd Jr. Boulevard, looking at a wreck there. And also Murfreesboro Pike at Nashboro Boulevard, an accident. I'm Jay Harper. We got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Have you noticed how unreliable things are these days? Somebody tells you, hey, it'll be ready at 4 o'clock, and you're there at 4 o'clock, and it's not ready. And you're like, well, what happened to 4 o'clock? People are tired of that stuff. It's Matt Murphy, and if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair, I would invite you to go over to Eurofix, where they turn unreliable into reliable. Eurofix has your vehicle ready when they say it's going to be ready. You don't have to stand around waiting in the waiting area. Eurofix also repairs all European, but if you do stay in the waiting area, by the way, it's clean as a pin. Clean as a whistle. Eat off the countertops. Eurofix also repairs all European automobiles with quality that beats the dealership without dealership pricing. At Eurofix, reliable means a 3-year nationwide warranty. It means a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Just call ahead on those loaner cars. They're very popular. If you're tired of unreliable, let's come to reliable. For 26 years, they've been fixing your car. It's myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com, or go to 844-EUROFIX on the phone. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. And you know what? When the power goes out, your AC goes out. When the power goes out, if grandma's on oxygen, her oxygen goes out. I would not wish that on anyone. What I do want you to know is there's an alternative. There's a way for you to avoid having to worry about power outages. Whether it's just an inconvenience or a necessary piece of medical equipment, Premier Generac generators for your home, they're available for you. And the Premier Generator company selling Generac generators, that's what they do. They are the best in the business. They're the largest Generac dealer in the state of Tennessee, offering a 10-year warranty, of course, on all generators. And they will offer you as well a free consultation with no obligation. And folks, I understand how it is. You don't want people trying to sell you on something. If you're considering and you're looking for different sizes and price points, call Premier Generators today. Let one of their consultants come out to see you, and they'll give you all of that information without the high-pressure sales. PremierGenerators.com. That's PremierGenerators.com. Tell them I sent you over to the website, or call them today at 855-797-4766. 855-797-4766 for Premier Generac Generators. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Former FBI Director James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan are under investigation, as they should be. There are no two more smarmy, entitled, egomaniacal individuals on planet Earth than these two that think that they are holier than thou, better than you, and that they are above the law and they need to be held to account. They lied. They lied to the American people. They lied their butts off to the Congress of the United States of America, in my opinion, and I think they need to be held to account. We'll discuss as the show moves forward. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. That's the way. 615-737-9986. So someone has asked if I could comment on Tucker Carlson. He seems to be destructive. I will. I'm happy to. And he has become, I don't know what's happened to Tucker. I don't, but it's odd, to say the least. Gloria Johnson. So the Congress of the United States of America, run by the Republicans, managed to hold together in their votes to pass the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill. It has now become the Big Beautiful Law, as Donald Trump signed it on July 4th. American Independence Day. I had a lot of consternation and a lot of concerns about the bill. I do not believe that it went far enough in cutting federal spending. I do understand that we're still overspending by some $3-ish trillion over the next 10 years. I also have been around long enough to know that budgets aren't done on a 10-year basis. And this 10-year nonsense is just that, nonsense. What happens today can change next year. What happens next year can change the year after that. What happens the year after that can change the year following that. So telling me that we're going to reap all of the benefit of these savings on the back end of a 10-year budget cycle is just pablum. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Does that mean I don't believe the architects of the bill? I do believe that their intention is earnest. I do believe that they want to try to do their best to shrink the overspending on the federal level. But I also believe that we had one great opportunity to take the biggest bite possible out of this proverbial apple that is government debt, and I believe we could have taken a much bigger bite. That said, I'm not going to make the perfect the enemy of the good. And there's a lot of good coming out of the BBB, to include a crackdown on Medicaid fraud, what I would consider to be Medicaid fraud, what some would call utilizing loopholes within the Medicaid system in order to take best advantage of it. In an effort to stop that sort of thing, in the Big Beautiful Bill, Republicans are demanding that there be some level of work requirement in order for able-bodied Americans to receive any sort of Medicaid benefit. What is Medicaid? What is Medicaid? What is Medicare? It is Medicaid at its most basic definition is a government safety net that provides basic health care for those who are unable to pay for themselves. Democrats and their collaborators in the media have always distorted policies as presented by the GOP since I've been doing this job, really since the dawn of time, it seems. But the coverage about the big, beautiful bill has kicked over an entire anthill of new earth. And Democrats, including Representative Gloria Johnson, have rushed to social media and any other friendly network that will allow them to spew their garbage. And they are telling us that the Republicans have gutted the social safety net that is Medicaid, and that as a result, that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people will die. This is the last refuge of someone that has no argument. The Democrats love this, right? Any effort made to cut the size of the federal government, and by the way, we're overspending by trillions and trillions of dollars, and we're way too far in debt, and it will be the damnation of the United States of America if we let it. Any effort to cut into that overspending is met with the Democrats saying that we're going to kill people. That the only thing between you and death is the federal government, which is a lot of hot garbage. That's what it is. So by now you've seen the headlines, and I've been meaning to talk about this for the last several days, that the Republican law will toss millions from the Medicaid program, and that it's going to cut the program to the bone, and that, you know, grandma and grandpa won't be able to afford, and that, you know, the poor, pitiful lady whose husband has left her that has 2 kids, all of them are going to die because they won't be able to get medical care. But did you know, and I'm referring to some notes that I made here, the Republican law will grow, even with the Republican big, beautiful bill becoming law. Spending on Medicaid is going to grow over the next decade. It's going to grow. Even with the roughly $1 trillion in estimated savings over 10 years, spending on Medicaid will grow over the next 10 years, something you will not hear on #NeverCNN or CBS or NBC or ABC. Secondarily, Medicaid spending has risen. Now, listen closely now. Medicaid spending, so your tax dollars going to spending for health care for those who claim they cannot afford it, has gone up by 60% since 2019. So in 2019, if we spent $1 trillion, we're now spending $1.6 trillion. That is in 6 years. And the bill's intent is to attempt to bend that trajectory back a little bit and blanch the growth. That's all. Well, how do you do that? Well, pregnant women in poverty are not going to be impacted. Disabled children are not going to suffer. What the Republicans in Congress are trying to do, and rightly so, they're trying to address the program's enormous expansion post-Obamacare to prime-age adults above the poverty line. The Congressional Budget Office, which is an organization that I don't care for very much, in a letter last month about the House bill, said 4.8 million will not comply with the bill's part-time work requirement. And so leftists have run with that number. And they've said that 4.8 million people will be booted off Medicaid, and that's where they end the sentence. But the estimate was that these people would not be willing to comply with the part-time work requirement. These are able-bodied people that are currently above the poverty line, that are currently on Medicaid for no other reason than they think they deserve it. How fascinating that we got here so quickly. And by the way, I would remind you, this was the entire design of Obamacare. When Obamacare happened and when Obamacare was passed, remember Nancy Pelosi? You have to pass it in order to see what's in it. And stupid John McCain. Yeah, I said stupid John McCain. I don't care, he's dead. Stupid John McCain voting against it just because he hated Trump, the repeal. The entire premise behind Obamacare was to fail. Obamacare was designed to make enough people dependent on government health care in order to convince them that once government health care failed, the only other option was single-payer health care. Are y'all following this? So they could not get single-payer health care. They could not eliminate private health insurance companies in the manner that they wanted to in 2009 and 2010. As a result, they tried to become half pregnant. They wanted to get enough people dependent on free money, free money, free money, free money, free money, free money, free health care, that once this Obamacare failed, which it was always going to do, those dependents on free health care would be of a number by which they would demand their free health care continue, and the answer to that would be single payer. That has been the design since the beginning of the argument. And it seems to be working because you have almost 5 million people, it is suggested, who are able-bodied and above the poverty line that say, I'm not paying for my own health care. Don't care. So the part-time work requirement, I want to go over this. This is where they're saying that people are going to be booted off. The work requirement does not apply to anyone who is disabled. It does not apply to anyone who is pregnant. It does not apply to anyone caring for a child younger than the age of 14. It involves volunteering 20 hours a week. If you volunteer for 20 hours a week anywhere, you are not required to work. If you are enrolled in school, you are not required to work. None of that changes under the new system. So pregnant women, they're cared for. Caring for a child under 14, don't worry about it. Disabled, you're fine. If you volunteer for 20 hours a week, you're fine. Enrolled in school, you're all good. The working poor are not going to be impacted in the manner that the Democrats claim. And I could go on with examples, but to get to the point, Gloria Johnson goes on social media, and Gloria Johnson, Representative Johnson, a behemoth of a politician over in Knoxville, she accuses Tim Burchett of killing babies. She accuses any Republican voting for this bill of being Nazi-esque, and this is going to destroy the working poor. And so I invited Tim Burchett and Gloria Johnson to come on the show and discuss Medicaid with us, and allowed Gloria to present her point of view and Tim to present his point of view, and let's hash it out. Let's have a nice debate. Tim has agreed. Congressman Burchett has said that he would come on the show with Gloria Johnson and discuss any matter to include Medicaid. Gloria has not yet agreed. And so we have made a generous offer. I made the offer, I guess yesterday it was, of $1,000 to a non-political charity of Gloria Johnson's choice. All she has to do is come on the show for an hour and talk about Medicaid with us. That's all she has to do. And I will give $1,000 to any non-political charity of her choice. Anything. Medical research, cancer research, whatever. I'm just, as an example, I'm just not giving money to Planned Parenthood or, MoveOn.org or whatever. So anything non-political. Well, all of you have stepped up to the point that the offer is now, and someone needs to let Gloria know it, $3,500. The offer currently on the table, my buddy Dale Jackson down in Chattanooga threw in $500. Some other friends threw in $500. Another friend who I don't want to name because I didn't ask threw in $1,000, and many of you have offered $100 or $200. $3,000, and if you've offered a pledge, I'm doing this on your honor. I'm not writing names down and writing numbers down. I'm just keeping a rolling tally of the figure. So if you're pledging money, just know I see you over there. I'm adding it to the total. I don't believe Gloria will come on. Sadly, because Democrats can't defend their viewpoint. But as a way to incentivize Ms. Johnson to appear on this radio show, we now have $3,500. Now it's $3,600. It's $3,600 to a non-political charity of her choosing, and all she has to do is come on and talk about Medicaid with us. We'll wait. We will not hold our breath. It's 52 after the hour on Super Talk. Oh, boy, it can be hard to find a trustworthy HVAC company. There are a lot of them around. You see the trucks going up and down the roadways, and I have found that person. I have found that company, and I am proud to recommend Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling to you. Maybe you need a first opinion about your AC unit. It's just not running properly. You can't get it to the condition that you want to get your air inside of your home. Perhaps you've had a first opinion and you just want a second opinion. Maybe you're looking for the best way to head off costly repairs with the maintenance of your unit. Whatever you're looking for, Jeff Eddy's ready, and he can help on that AC over the summer months. Remember, he's never going to recommend you replace a unit that you don't need to replace. He will only tell you that it has to happen, and he'll explain exactly why when he makes that recommendation. When that happens, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They can offer you financing options. There are a lot of different places that they can go in terms of what unit, what type of unit to replace it with, and they'll make that best recommendation for you. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Bottom line, if your AC is not ready, call Jeff Eddy at 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net.
And coming up on the news at the top of the hour, more on the Texas flooding. The Supreme Court also, they have made a decision on immigration in Florida and a measles outbreak. We'll have those stories and more, again, coming up at the top of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hardest thing about coming back to work this week with the bum shoulder? You want to guess?
Opening doors.
The doors are easy. I can do those one hand. Put on headphones.
Oh, yeah. How's that work?
It's hard to put on headphones one-handed.
Can you do it on camera for us?
Yeah, I can show you. All right, everybody's watching. So you got to say this, and then you got this. And then you got to go down here, and you got to do that, and then you got and then you do that.
And he's back.
How's the hair? Hair look good?
Hair looks good. Slicked back as always.
Well, thank you.
I mean, that maneuver, Matt, almost qualifies as therapy. So you need physical therapy. So you need to tell your therapist, hey, man, I'm putting in the work.
I'm putting in the time, baby. That's exactly right. Jay Harper's putting in the time, double duty on traffic and news. We'll get to news momentarily. We'll have Scott Sepiki stop by. I promise we will not bore you with, well, I can't make that promise because we are dealing with figures, but we'll talk about that. 1674. I will not repeat the nature of your question on the super text line, but I will say this. Thankfully, my dominant hand is my right hand, and I use my right hand for a lot of things. But thanks for being concerned. Left hand's all good.
Is that question what I think it was?
That's exactly what you think it was. It involved the poop emoji. Let's just put it that way. The poop emoji.
Okay.
Yeah. What about, one down, 3 to go. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hang in there, kids. Back after this.
Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. The full forecast and a traffic report are coming up. Kerrville, Texas was beginning their long-planned flood warning system. The city of nearly 25,000 had worked on it with their council, and that emergency siren was under contract, as John Santucci, the head of the ABC investigative unit, discovered.
Back in April, residents and officials down in Kerrville had actually entertained a proposal from a company for a little over $70,000 to install a siren system. Today, ABC News has learned that just last month, that contract was signed, executed, ready to go, and a kickoff meeting with that company to begin the process of installing the sirens was set to begin the middle of this month.
Now turning to a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. They have rejected a request to allow for the enforcement of a new immigration law in Florida. ABC's Stephen Portnoy, he's got more from D.C.
The state law makes it illegal to enter Florida if you've illegally entered the country, but citing the Constitution's supremacy clause and the idea that immigration is a federal responsibility, a U.S. District Court judge blocked the measure earlier this year. Now, in a single sentence, the Supreme Court has rejected a request from the state to set aside that lower court's order. It's not a final ruling, but it does mean the law will not be able to take effect while the challenge against it proceeds.
According to the CDC, there are now almost 1,300 confirmed cases of measles across 38 states, numbers not seen in more than 30 years. 2 children and 1 adult have already died. They were not vaccinated. The MMR vaccine is about 97% effective in preventing getting the disease. ABC's medical correspondent, Dr. Darren Sutton, tells us why the cases are so high.
Unfortunately, as we've seen in the recent years, there's been a steady decline in the percent of children that have been fully vaccinated or have been participating in their routine vaccinations, now just under 93%. Now, that might not seem like a big difference from that protective number that we need of 95%, but that's also equivalent to 280,000 children that are currently in kindergarten that are not up to date on their vaccines.
That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Well, if you're headed to Clarksville on 24 westbound, well, have some patience. You're going to sit there a while. The right lane is all that's blocked now. The whole interstate was shut down earlier, but now just the right lane blocked. Again, this is 24 westbound at exit 11. Also a crash 24 eastbound. This would be near Murfreesboro Road at exit 52. We've got two other separate accidents now just coming in that same area up near Clarksville. 24 westbound at exit 11. More wrecks in that same area, unfortunately. And in the Millersville area, 65 southbound near exit 98, the left shoulder blocked due to a previous accident. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Here we are. Here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Show, hour number 2 on this Wednesday edition, July 9. Hello, friends. Hope everybody's doing well. Doing better than Ken Weaver. AC's out at the Weaver household, so he is out today. He'll be back tomorrow. Jay's in for Ken, delivering the news, delivering the traffic, and everything else important to you. Jackson is delivering on the sound machine. He's helping out, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. We appreciate that. Doing like 18 jobs over there, screening telephone calls, running the board, running the television side of things, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. And Rumble, apparently, and I don't look, I was told that we were up and running on Rumble. I was told yesterday we were up and running on Rumble, like we couldn't find it. So we're working on giving you an easy set of instructions if you're on the Rumble machine as to how to get to us, and we'll get back to you on that coming up ASAP. So we promised to get back to you on a couple of things involving education in the state of Tennessee, and I understand it's the middle of summer, and we're not going to belabor it. We can talk about anything with this next guest because he's a good friend of the show, one of our best friends. He is Representative Scott Sepiki, and he joins us in studio to talk education and beyond. Hello, Scott.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You look great with that Chinese shoulder.
Yeah. You told me about you just mentioned some new legislation that's being run through the General Assembly. What were you talking about?
Yeah, Jack Johnson, I've heard, is going to sponsor legislation along with William Lambert to prohibit Chinese parts to be put in bodies.
Oh, well, that's great.
So now
that's great.
Maybe you might be grandfathered. Then have to go through it again.
Well, let's hope so.
Buy American, Matt.
So I was about to tell you the story. We got sidetracked. I'll tell it again. I think I told the story yesterday on the show. Because I know hand and everybody's picking on me about my Chinese shoulder. And so I asked the doctor when we had the surgery, and then 2 weeks in, we go meet with the surgeon, make sure everything's going well. And everything seemed fine. And I said, hey, I'm getting picked on a lot about this thing at work. I was like, can you tell me a little about the parts? And he goes, oh, yeah, it's titanium. And he goes in there and he pulls it up on the screen and he shows me the parts and the ball and there's plastic. And he's going on. And I was like, yeah, where's it made? And he keeps talking about the plastic. It's like 21st century technology. It's great, blah, blah, blah. And these screws go in there. It's like, yeah, where's it made? And, your physical therapy. And he starts talking about it. And I was like, where's it made? And he kind of looks at me and says, I don't know. So my message to you, Sepiki, is probably not a good idea to say anything to me that you don't want the red Chinese to know about.
I'm telling you. They got an inside listening device.
But they'll be happy to know that test scores are going up in the state of Tennessee, right?
And I'll be brief on education because I know we take a beating from the listeners in the summertime.
But it's important stuff, man.
But we are definitely headed in the right direction, especially in early education. We increased our third grade literacy rate to 41%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but Matt, 2 years ago we were at 28. So we're really moving the ball there.
That's good.
In fifth grade, we're at 40 and 47 in math and English language arts. Our new challenge is going to be middle school and high school as we drop off to 29 and 36 in ELA and math, but they're both increases. So we are starting to turn the corner here, especially in early education. Remember what we've done. We went back to phonics on how we used to teach reading. We have summer school now. We have the interventions and the tutoring in place. We are focusing more. We brought the cell phone ban this year. We increased recess in elementary. So we're doing things that we think are really starting to benefit our students. In English language arts this year, most grades tested show gains in proficiency, including a nearly 4-point increase in English and English 1 and English 2. In math, proficiency increased in every grade level, including a gain of more than 5 percentage points in 6th grade, and I'll tell you why that's important. Statewide science achievements continue to progress, with nearly 2% increases across the board, and social studies up 4 points. But the reason why math is so important is we've been very, very weak in mathematics. We'll have a report coming out from the Department of Education on how we're going to deliver math this coming general session. We're going to see if we can get this thing turned around pretty quick.
So I see the trend line. The trend line's in the right direction. 41% is nothing to necessarily be proud about, but when you're coming from 20-something
right,
in just a couple of years,
that's correct.
That is something that our educators can take pride in, and frankly, something that the General Assembly can. Well,
it's something for sure. It's something that our teachers should especially in elementary, beat their chests over of how well the kids have been responding since COVID. And remember, COVID was that time when we sent everybody home. Hindsight's 2020. Probably shouldn't have done that. But these kids have really shown resiliency coming back. And the thing I'm most impressed with is the 4th and 5th graders retain where they were year over year. They didn't slide back. And in 8th grade, we talked about the low numbers there. That's the next challenge is let's talk to our teachers to find out why the drop
what's happening.
What's happening there, and then focus there. And then we're also looking at college. We're not getting the numbers, and I know I haven't talked about this much, but our graduation rates in our colleges and universities across the state of Tennessee is not very good. When you compare us to the SEC, right, just the other schools in the SEC, for a bachelor's degree, now listen what I'm going to tell you, and your listeners, for a bachelor's degree, looking at the 6-year graduation rate. 6-year graduation rate is 73%. You know what that ranks us in the SEC? Tied for 10th.
And see, I was on the 5-year plan. I thought that was bad.
Well, that is bad. When you've got college athletes that are graduating in 3.5 years playing sports. Okay, so where's the disconnect there?
Well, I mean, a lot of things to unpack, a lot of angles to take. I want to go to a few questions that are being asked on the Super Text line. I love the fact that we're getting some education questions in here. Ask Scott why it takes so long to get test results. Is it already too late for those who would need summer school?
No. What happens is we give out after the districts take the tests in May and April, in about 3 weeks, they get the raw scores back to identify those students that are going to need intervention, summer school, right? And we gave them different options. You can go to summer school, or you can take a tutor the following year if you're in the approaching category, which means you're very close to being on track. If you're in the below category, it gives them enough time to get situated for how many kids are going to come to summer school. And then the following year, we automatically provide the tutoring for those students. We're seeing tremendous results. And I'm going to tell you this, and this is the hard part, Matt, is not every district, and inside every district, not every school is providing high-quality summer school. We've got to do a better job of getting a more uniform stance in summer school across the state to give the kids the necessary supports that they need to get across the finish line for the next grade level.
Nelson writes in and says, would you ask Representative Sepiki what he would do about a lack of discipline in school today? The kids are in charge and oftentimes treat the teachers like trash with no consequences. Will you talk about that at all?
Absolutely, 100%. 3 years ago, Matt, I passed a bill, and I talked about it with you, the Teachers Discipline Act. Came out of the state of Georgia and the state of Florida, which gives the teacher the ability to remove a repetitively disruptive student from their classroom permanently.
And it seems like a no-brainer from our days, right? I mean, you went to alternative school, and if you couldn't manage yourself in alternative school, eventually you got expelled.
Well, now we have the ability to do virtual learning. So you don't have to expel the student. You can take the student and send them home so mom and dad can sit with them during class time. Well, guess what happens then? Mom and dad get upset because now they can't go to work because if they're a minor in the state of Tennessee, you have to be supervised by an adult. So it brings that parental involvement in. And in the Teachers Discipline Act, which, believe it or not, that's been 3 years ago, some districts haven't enacted it yet.
Well, I mean, are they just ignoring the General Assembly?
Yes,
or?
they are. They are. And so we've got to figure out a way to remind them that when the elected representatives of the state of Tennessee pass a law, we do expect you to follow through with it because, like you talk about, you've seen the videos of the kids that just throw some kind of temper tantrum.
Oh, yeah.
The teacher removes all the other students and lets the kid destroy the classroom. Well, I've got 30 kids that aren't learning now for one knucklehead.
Right.
Right? So.
Back to scores, 3550 wants to know why don't, and I'm just asking the question asked of me. Why don't they give the scores to the parents with more information?
Well, we try to. During the school year, we do those 3 testings throughout the year to kind of be benchmarks. They're not really a test, but they are an evaluation tool that the teachers can use, and they'll communicate with the parents to say, hey, everything is progressing on track, or hey, we have a problem here we need to address. One of the things we do for summer school with in our district is we encourage them to interact with the parents and say, okay, little Jenny or Johnny is struggling here. Here's the plan in summer school. Here's how we're going to address that, so that when they move to the next grade level, they're going to be able to succeed. It's communication. We try to give as much flexibility, local control, you talk about it, as much local control to the districts as we can on how they're going to disseminate that information.
Someone wants to know, just bottom line, 25, 50 words, what was the Discipline Act?
Real quick, what it did is it gave the teacher the ability to remove a repetitively disruptive student. It set a set of things in place that had to happen, enable for that student to be able to come back to the classroom with the teacher's permission. Mm-hmm. An intervention. They had to do a psychological evaluation with the parent's consent. They had to have a parent-teacher meeting. They had to come up with a plan on how they're going to address the discipline issues, and then set the expectations forward about what the teacher expects in the classroom.
Now, I'm at a little bit of a loss because I don't have kids. You know that. So someone says, get rid of Common Core. We don't teach Common Core in Tennessee, do we?
Now, we don't teach Common Core, but remember, it's the principles we don't teach. When you're looking at grades, like let's take first grade through 5th grade, right? Mm-hmm. It's just the basic building blocks of education. If you look at 3rd grade, what they're supposed to learn across the country, it's pretty much the same, right? They're learning addition, they're learning subtraction, they're learning how to read. Common Core got really wonky when it got into middle school and high school, when you started talking about concepts and things like that. And we've banned Common Core. We've banned the tenets of how you're going to teach Common Core. But we still have the basics of education. And that word Common Core kind of got hijacked to where, we expect everybody to know a Common Core in K through 5, right? The building blocks of math and addition and subtraction.
Particularly with math. It was that kind of a different way of doing math.
Correct.
And everybody was like, there's nothing wrong with memorizing multiplication tables.
So that's called fluency and numeracy. We'll be getting a testimony from the department about what their recommendation is. And what I've heard is, guess what, Matt? They're going to recommend to go back to the way we used to do it.
So with regard to the education scholarship,
yes.
Are you happy where we are? I mean, did we fill up the 20,000 scholarship?
Oh, yes, by far. Now, we've got lots of people on waiting lists because now you have to go get your acceptance letter from your private school so that you can take advantage of that. One of the things that we'll be doing is it triggered automatically 5,000 more scholarships. Mm-hmm. Now the General Assembly has to come back in next year, look at the funding for that, find out how much it's going to be, and decide whether or not we're going to increase the funding to cover those extra 5,000 scholarships.
Well, and 2 things are happening simultaneous to each other. One is you're giving parents a choice, an opportunity if they find themselves in a failing situation. At the same time, we as a state are trying to eliminate those failing situations.
That's correct.
Right. I would love it if we no longer, I don't want to speak for you, but if 10, 15 years down the road, if everybody's like, you know what, we're good with our public education, it's great, so we don't need a scholarship, we don't need this fund anymore, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful. That means that public education is succeeding on the level that it should be, but I love the fact that we're giving parents a little bit of a choice and more opportunity to get their children out of a failing situation if they find themselves in one.
And that's the problem. Sometimes you're zoned into a school because of your zip code or your address. You really don't have a choice. And now what we've done is we've created an alternative way for parents to gain access to better outcomes, better education. One of the things we do need to invest more in is we need more charter schools. We need more magnet schools like Hume Fogg. You know Hume Fogg right over your shoulder.
Yeah.
It is probably one of the best high schools in the country. In the country. And it's right here in Metro Nashville Public Schools that struggles right now to educate our kids.
So when we return, I'll look through some other questions and maybe pivot to a couple of those. But I'd be curious your thoughts on a couple of other matters. I know you keep up with a lot of national, international matters, and particularly, I mean, you've been on top of the relationship between Israel and the United States of America and what's going on in the Middle East. And I'm curious your thoughts on some of the activity that's happened since you and I have been last able to talk. It's 21 after the hour. Representative Scott Sepiki for one more segment. It's the Murphy Show on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Tony Spain and Cabinet Solutions in Hendersonville. You know, Tony mentioned this earlier in the week, and it's important to remind you that no matter your budget, your price point, no matter what you're trying to do, whether it's kitchen work or laundry room or a dressing area, like a dressing room area, or perhaps it's even a bedroom area, or an outdoor space, they can get it done for you at Cabinet Solutions. And they go all the way from your standard cabinets that is at a price point for ballers on a budget to custom-made high-end cabinet solutions for multi-million-dollar homes. They have a 4,500-square-foot showroom. They explore all manner of different cabinets for all manner of different places within your house. You just need to see it to understand it. You start your journey by going to mycabinetsolution.com. That's not solutions, solution. mycabinetsolution.com. Contact Tony that way. Fill out a brief form. He'll get back in contact with you and friends. You can begin picking out your cabinets for your brand new home or for your home upgrade. It's mycabinetsolution.com. Defend Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. You have listened to Brink Fiddler on my show on numerous occasions. He is my go-to expert when it comes to facility management and preventing the unlikely happening of a workplace violence situation, or at least mitigating it should it happen to you. Active violence events that are on the rise, from workplace violence to active shooter situations. I mean, sadly, we tell you that these things are not going away anytime soon. You need to be trained. The possibility of it happening to you in your workplace, in your school, in your church is very, very low. I'm not here to scare you, but it's not zero. That is why hope is not a plan. It is time to get trained. Call 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or reach out today at defendsystems.com. That's defendsystems.com.
On the news side of things, recovery operations are continuing at the Texas flood site, and we'll have more on the status of a flood warning system there, as well as today's closing money news. That's all coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Old Double D J Harper. Double D J. That's double duty Jay Harper. He, I don't know how he gets from the traffic center to the newsroom as fast as he does, but he does it.
Man, it's the miracle of technology.
It's incredible, my friend. Yep. Incredible. We'll get to the news coming up in just moments. About 4 or so more minutes with our guest, Representative Scott Sepiki. Don't forget, Congressman David Kustoff is coming up just after 4:35 to discuss a couple of matters going on in Washington, D.C. You know, we've almost got a quorum here now after the passage of the big, beautiful bill. By the way, speaking of Congress, I mean, man, oh man, you excited? All these congressional races going on. You know, Rose is running for governor, so there's an open 6th congressional district race. Congressman Mark Green retires, and that one's happening quick, real quick. Are you throwing your hat in the ring on that one there, Sepiki?
No.
No.
There's too much work to be done in education still.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I just figured I'd ask. Everybody else is running, so you know, why not? What is to come on education in the next session?
I think you're going to see a focus on teacher evaluations, looking at how we do that. It's extremely complex right now. I think you're going to see mathematics on how we're going to teach mathematics in the state of Tennessee. I think you're going to have us take a look at testing in the state of Tennessee, whether or not we do too much testing, which a lot of us do believe we do. And then I think you're going to see us look at higher education, how we can get better results from the kids that go to higher education. Instead of taking 6 years to get a bachelor's degree, let's get them out in 4, and guess what? I'll save you 2 years of tuition.
Sounds good to me.
So that's what we're working on. Plus the other stuff that pops up every now and then from talking to teachers.
Plus the no body part replacements from China.
That's correct.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
And you're going to run my trash panda bill, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. And what was it, pet raccoon?
That's the trash panda bill.
Trash panda bill.
It stands for, hold on. Since you brought it up,
I didn't bring it up.
Since you brought it up, Tennessee Raccoon Adoption, Safety, and Habitat Protection and Nurturing Domestic Animal Act.
Sounds expensive.
Trash panda. No, it doesn't cost a thing.
Expensive.
Doesn't cost a thing.
We'll make it expensive.
Doesn't cost a penny. Not like all that other stuff you guys are doing over there, spending our money hand over fist.
Yes.
Are you? I thought it was a master stroke. You and I have not had a chance to talk about it. I know that Israel's on your mind.
Yes.
And I thought it was a master stroke what happened in Iran.
Incredible.
I don't know that any other president, maybe Ronald Reagan, would have had the ability and the wherewithal to thread the needle in the way that it happened to prevent an escalation of the conflict, but at the same time eliminate the threat.
Well, when you look at what Israel did to pave the way, getting the air defense, right? Flying the same patterns into Iran all the time, so that they could be there in case the B-2s got in trouble, right? Making sure that the logistics of getting the B-2s, I'm from St. Louis, so I know where they left. It's on the other side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And to logistically get them with the refueling, carrying 2 30,000-pound bombs.
Nonstop. Yeah.
You
incredible.
Take off, you don't get to get out of that plane till you get back. And making sure that everything worked flawlessly. And that's where the age of these people that were doing this are so young, right? The technology that these kids have to, I call them kids, I'm sorry, but these young men and women have to know to make this work. One of the bills we ran in education, right, was about the ASFAB, letting the military go in and talk to these kids about the opportunities
of course.
That's in our military right now. And you saw it on display, and well, I should say the world saw it on display, of the ability for us to reach out and touch you no matter where you are. And I think it was a brave thing that President Trump did, coordinating with Prime Minister Netanyahu, coordinating all this.
And now getting to a ceasefire,
yes.
Tenuous, but a ceasefire.
And getting more of those hostages back.
Amen. It's just a master stroke.
I'm going to tell you this, we cannot rest until all of those hostages come back from Gaza.
Amen.
They have to come back.
Hey, speaking of reaching out and touching someone,
yes.
Have you heard that we're trying to get Gloria to agree to come on the show?
I would love to sit here with her, too. I mean, she's full of some wealth of information.
Well, she was condemning Congressman Tim Burchett for his support of the big, beautiful bill, especially the Medicaid component. And we invited Tim and Gloria to come on to kind of hash out their differences. Congressman Burchett has agreed.
Good.
I mean, gosh, turn on CNN. He's on there all the time. He's
Right.
not afraid of it. And no response from Gloria. So we thought we would sweeten the pot. And I initially offered yesterday $1,000 to any non-political charity of her choice, because I'm not giving money to Planned Parenthood or some crap like that. But I'll give to, dog rescue, whatever, non-political charity. We're now up to $3,600.
Wow.
$3,600. All she has to do is come on and be on the show for an hour.
Wow.
No response.
Well, I serve on insurance committee and I serve on the TennCare subcommittee.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching this very intently. And there is, like you said, there's no pregnant mothers going to be thrown off.
Of course not.
The children aren't going to be thrown off. Those with disabilities are not going to be thrown off. But let me tell you something. If you have the ability to go work, we're going to ask you to go work.
And the taxpayers should not be paying for your health coverage.
Correct. Now, one of the things we are looking at is a step-down approach to health care. So what happens is we get a lot of people that don't take the promotion because it'll kick them off at TennCare.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't make enough money from the promotion to cover the new healthcare cost. So what we're looking at is there a way for us to create a step down as we're going to encourage you to take that next promotion, and then a certain percentage of you're going to be responsible for now. So we're going to encourage you to become self-reliant and self-dependent, but we're going to give you a step-down approach to make that happen.
Yeah, so it's not a leap.
Correct.
It's I get it. No, I like it. I like everything about it.
There you go.
Scott, good to have you back.
Made education
Or wait
fun.
a minute, good for me to be back. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I thought we made it kind of fun.
Nice to have you back.
Kind of sort of fun. All right, we'll talk about Trash Panda Act next. 32 after the hour. It's time for Jay Harper in the newsroom. Super Talk.
Good afternoon. It's 32 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. The full forecast and traffic coming up in just a few minutes. Teams of people are actively combing through debris on the ground in Kerr County, Texas today, following Friday's deadly flooding from the fast-moving waters of the Guadalupe River. ABC's Jacqueline Smith, she's there with an update on the progress.
The sheer amount of destruction, all of these trees just toppled over like toothpicks because the water movement was so powerful. And they're actually already starting to clean all of this up because we're working trying to get all of these trees out of here. Still so much more work to be done, and there's still more than 160 people still missing here in Kerr County.
For years, leaders in Kerr County, Texas, had met to talk about a warning system along the Guadalupe River where at least about 120 people died last week, but the system was never built. Now the county says there was a plan to work on a computer dashboard to give insights into river levels, but it just never got developed in time. ABC's Alex Stone reports on that issue.
A Kerrville Area River Authority had given the green light on a contract last month for a flood warning system that would have been used to help with emergency response, according to local government officials in response to a request from ABC News. They planned a, quote, kickoff meeting for mid-July, we're told, and approved $73,000 for a company to develop a flood warning system in Kerr County. It was not for sirens or a system to warn the public directly, but a dashboard to allow emergency managers to view real-time stream flow and rainfall data.
Now let's check today's closing money news. For that, we turn to Michelle Frenzen.
Stocks rose sharply higher even as investors wait for the latest developments with President Trump's tariffs. The Dow added 217 points. The Nasdaq gained 192. The S&P rose 37. Tech and communication services stocks helped to push markets higher. Chip maker Nvidia rose 1.8%, becoming the first publicly traded company to top $4 trillion in value. Microsoft was also up 1%, and Google's parent company added over 1%. Investors also got a behind-the-scenes look at the Federal Reserve Board's decision-making. The Fed released minutes from the June meeting that shows only a couple of officials supported interest rate cuts as soon as this month. They held rates steady last month, leading investors to think 2 rate cuts could come later in 2025. Ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino says she's stepping down after 2 years running Elon Musk's social media platform.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Well, we've got a number of pretty serious accidents here. First of all, still two separate wrecks blocking things 24 westbound up near Clarksville at exit 11. Also in the Madison area now, 65 northbound near Old Hickory Boulevard. We've got a crash blocking some lanes there. And also not too far from there, 65 northbound just before Vietnam Vets. In the Rivergate area, we've got a wreck that's blocking things there. And also some blocked roadways 24 eastbound near Murfreesboro Pike due to a wreck in that area. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know what happens to the best of us? It happens to about half the men in the listening audience at some point over the course of their lives. You have an issue with ED. And look, I'm not here to put too fine a point on it. I'm not here to belabor the point if you already know. But I am here to point you in the right direction with regard to how you can solve this issue and put it behind you, men, because ignoring it will not do that. Dealing with it and getting to a qualified individual like Tennessee Men's Clinic, a qualified company, that will. You'll meet with a qualified urologist. They'll sit down with you, talk to you about whatever your issues might be. Maybe it's just basic energy levels that have not reached the bedroom that you've noticed a decrease. They'll get some blood work. They'll get results, and they will prescribe a path of success the day of your initial consultation and visit. I mean, I'm telling you, folks, this works. Don't trust these online marketplaces. Trust someone right here in Middle Tennessee, Cool Springs and Midtown. Let's give them a call and schedule that appointment today and put this behind us, men. 615-208-9090, 208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. You heard the man. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being around with us. Matt Murphy Show, a midweek edition. Hope your entire week's going good so far. Hope your month is going well. to speak about how it's going in Washington, D.C. Next, we welcome back on the Murphy Show hotline. It is the telephone line where we interview people, which is, as I like to say, the catchy name of the telephone line where we interview people. Congressman David Kustoff joins us back on the program to discuss the big, beautiful bill, that legislation, and other matters that are happening. Hello, Congressman. Good to talk with you again. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Doing well. Better question is, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for asking. 2.5 weeks in, everything seems to be going well, pain-free, relatively speaking, except for PT. So things are going well. Thanks for asking.
Very good. Well, is it bionic?
Yeah, a little bionic. We cannot confirm nor deny where the actual parts were made. So I like to tell folks that if you say anything around me that you don't want the Red Chinese to know, you better whisper them.
Your secret's safe with me.
Oh, man, sure. So, I mean, obviously, every Republican save one, or save two, I should say, voted for the big beautiful bill, which is now the big beautiful law. You and I talked about this in the past. There were things that we cannot like about it, places where perhaps we did not go far enough with regard to spending. But talk about those aspects of the bill, even with some spending concerns that fiscal hawks might have had that pushed you over the line. And I know that there's plenty of good. A lot of that good does outweigh some of the negatives. Would you agree?
Absolutely. So Matt, take it from 30,000 feet and then kind of work down for just a moment. This bill captures a lot of what President Trump talked about in the 2024 campaign, from making the tax cuts permanent, the 2017 tax cuts, which were about to expire, from border security to unleashing American energy. It is in this one big, beautiful bill. And from the tax standpoint, you and I have talked about this before. I serve on the House Ways and Means Committee, which has jurisdiction over tax. If the tax cuts had expired at the end of this year for constituents in my district, in the 8th Congressional District of Tennessee, it would have been about a 26% tax increase. And a few weeks ago, I had questioned the Treasury Secretary, who's in the Ways and Means Committee, and I asked him, Mr. Secretary, if the tax cuts were to expire, what is the effect to the economy? And he said that we would have had, if the tax cuts expired, that we would have an economic calamity like what we had in 2008 if we didn't pass the one big beautiful bill. So that would I was already supportive because I helped draft the bill, but that should have been incentive for everybody in the House of Representatives, Republican or Democrat or what have you, to vote for it. In the end, it's going to be really strong for the economy, not only preserving the 2017 tax cuts, but the no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime, giving those Social Security beneficiaries some satisfaction that they get a deduction on their tax returns. This is big, and I've been in the rural part of my district. My district is the largest ag district in the state of Tennessee, and I'm telling you, Matt, for those family farms and for anybody that's got a small business, making sure that they have a large estate tax exemption where they don't have to pay taxes on death, that's going to preserve a lot of family farms and a lot of small businesses. So from the economic standpoint, it's an absolute home run to keep the economy going and making it strong, just like it was during the first 4 years of Trump 1.0.
It appears, listening to leftist media networks, and most of them are, listening to some of our friends on the political left, a major point of attack over the next year or so on the BBL will be the Medicaid reductions. Although I noted earlier in the show, Congressman Kustoff, that there will actually be an increase in Medicaid spending over 10 years. This is designed to blanch since 2019, my math had it at 60%. We've seen a 60% increase in spending just since 2019 on Medicaid programs. And if my reading of all of this is correct, everything that was done to Medicaid was designed to take those able-bodied individuals that can work and require them to do so if they are to continue to receive Medicaid. You know, pregnant mothers are not going to get the boot. Mamas with kids under the age of 14 are not going to get the boot. Are Republicans ready with these answers? Because they're going to have to fight back not just against the lying Democrats, but also the lying media.
So I was interviewed on CNN the day after the bill passed, and that was one of the questions I got was about Medicaid and about Medicaid spending and where the savings come from. And I pointed out, and I think you did a really good job summarizing everything. The estimates are kind of all over the place, but the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, estimated that there are about 5 million able-bodied childless adults who get Medicaid. And what this bill does, it requires those individuals, not the ones who are truly dependent, where they've got some type of disability, but the able-bodied adults, 19 to 64 years of age, they've got to produce proof that they are working 80 hours per month or that they get some type of job skills or job training. And when I was interviewed on CNN about this, I pointed out that this is the exact same thing that Bill Clinton championed 30 years ago, what he and Newt Gingrich worked with to make sure that those who can work, who are receiving Medicaid, they just got to produce proof that they're doing what they should be doing. And I think about my district where we're about to have a lot of new jobs come online with Blue Oval City, and we all know the jobs that are being produced in Middle Tennessee, where you are, and in East Tennessee. We need bodies. We need able-bodied people to go to work. And so my point is, if those jobs are available and we can get able-bodied people where they are not receiving Medicaid, and Medicaid truly goes to those who are dependent, then we've done our job.
I saw the stat. I was just pulling it up as you were talking, Congressman David Kustoff, our guest, joining us today on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. But the basic math. Oh, here it is. U.S. worker boost since Trump took office in January. There are 543,000 fewer foreign-born individuals working in the United States of America, but over 2 million native-born workers have a job now that did not at the beginning of the year. This is kind of the idea that if those people that have just given up on finding a job, given up on being in the workforce, that are currently able-bodied, sure, you're going to see that decrease because we're dealing with the illegal immigration issues that have plagued the country, particularly under the Biden administration. But the American people are getting up and getting back to work, which is the way we want it.
That's exactly why we want people to go to work. And when I visit with my employers, and I think this is true for any congressman, whether it's in manufacturing, you name it, they say we need people to come to work. We need people. We've got good jobs. We have trouble getting people to come to work, and that's not nearly as true as it was during the pandemic, during COVID, but it's still true today. So my argument is that if the CBO is right, and there are roughly 5 million able-bodied people on Medicaid, and they can work, then we're doing the labor force and the American taxpayer a favor if, all we're asking them to do is to present proof that they're working at least 80 hours a month, or that they're able or they've gotten some type of job training. That's all we're asking for. And if they don't do that, then they're not eligible to get Medicaid.
Well, we appreciate everything about that aspect of the big, beautiful bill, and I appreciate your vote for it. Obviously, much to do with regard to spending in Washington, D.C., and we'll continue that conversation into the fall and well into the coming years. Before we let you go, Congressman Kustoff, obviously, you and I have not been able to talk since I was out for surgery for the last several weeks. Last time we had a conversation was before Donald Trump initiated the strikes against Iran. I mean, call it, whatever cliche phrase we want to use, threading through the eye of a needle or a camel's hair through the eye of a needle, whatever it was, he managed to effectively eliminate Iran's nuclear program, get them to the table of a ceasefire, and prevent other nations from wanting to engage in any sort of militaristic way, and he kept boots off the ground. I thought it was a master stroke, and it gave Israel yet another opportunity to get a foothold on peace in the Middle East. Your thoughts?
Well, Matt, first of all, I really strongly applaud President Trump for making these are tough decisions, and only the President of the United States has all the information that's needed to make a decision like that. And what you're asking our men and women in the military to do, flying those B-2 bombers, is to drop these really large bombs strategically into a hole, essentially. And not only do I applaud President Trump, I certainly applaud those men and women in the military. He has taken out, President Trump, not only those strategic leaders in the Iranian military, and the Israelis did too before that strike just a couple of weeks ago, but he's really kind of defanged to some extent Iran, which not only is an enemy of Israel, but they are an enemy of the United States, and they have been for 46 years. And so we're going to continue to work with President Trump and with our armed services. I do want to say on that note, today, Speaker Mike Johnson and the Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries appointed members of the House of Representatives to a group, something called the House Knesset Parliamentary Friendship Group, to continue that relationship that we have with the Israeli Congress. I have been appointed as of today, reappointed as the chairman of that group, and I'm proud of my Republican members. I'm glad that Hakeem Jeffries has appointed Democrat members. We have to work to make sure that Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East, has the tools and the resources that Israel needs so that she can defend herself.
Well, congratulations to you. Thank you for the hard work that you do. We appreciate you coming on and updating us from a Western Tennessee perspective. And Congressman, it's always a great conversation. Take good care, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Thank you, Matt. Good luck on your recovery, and
Thank
let's
you.
continue to get well. Thank you for having me on today.
God bless you. There's David Kustoff, congressman from over in West Tennessee, not Memphis. I forget. Is it 8? Oh, gosh, I always forget. Maybe it's 2. I forget the numbers. I don't know the numbers, and I don't pretend to know the numbers. I'll figure it out, and I'll tell you when we come back on Super Talk. Friends, it's as simple as this. You need the best when it comes to pests and bugs and creepy crawlies and all of those sorts of things around your home. You need U.S. Pest. They are the best in the business when it comes to preventing insect infestation in the home. Now, they do more than just insects. I mean, obviously, they have mice and rat services as well, crawl space services. They do termites, which are just awful. And I mean, every home is threatened with termites on some level in the state of Tennessee. But, of course, they do their full-service pest control. You need monthly pest control in this state. Otherwise, you will be overrun in your yard. And, of course, if you have kids or pets, Those bugs, if they're in the yard, they're going to get in the house. And, of course, in-house service as well. Spiders and stink bugs and ants and ladybugs and fleas and ticks and all of those things. Go to uspest.com. That's uspest.com. Know two things about U.S. Pest and J.K. and Erica Brister. They absolutely love the United States of America. And they hate bugs. Hate them, hate them, hate them. U.S. Pest. They are the best. Go to uspest.com or 590-1260. 590-1260. Folks, it's Matt Murphy, and if you head down Franklin Way, I encourage you to stop by just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy and see the crew at Savory Spice. Savory Spice, they're so, so good. Did I tell you it was recently that Holly called me up? Holly and David are the owners of Savory Spice, locally owned. And she said, Matt, you got to tell everybody that like a quarter of our inventory is going down in price for us. Our suppliers are going down on their prices, and so we are going down on our prices for our customers. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, and that's the way that it ought to work, right? So the company sees a reduction in prices, and they pass that reduction along to the customers that they serve. That's the way that it should be, and that's the way that it is at Savory Spice. Now, obviously, their quality is unmatched in the industry, right? I mean, they're just the best when it comes to providing the most exclusive spices, the biggest selection of spices, international and seasonings and different salts and peppers and whatnot. But they have the greatest quality, and they have, in most cases, the greatest quantity in terms of the range of spices. Plus, they can help the experienced chef or the newbie to the kitchen. Give them a watch or go by and see them, I should say. Give them a call if you have any questions at Savory Spice, one and only. You up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at Savory Spice.
Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A full forecast and another traffic report are on the way. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, meeting with senators on Capitol Hill today, said that he and President Trump are on the same page when it comes to ending the conflict in Gaza.
President Trump and I have a common goal. We want to achieve the release of our hostages. We want to end Hamas rule in Gaza. We want to make sure that Gaza does not pose a threat to Israel anymore.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. is imposing sanctions on a senior official at the UN for her outspoken criticism of Israel and its actions in Gaza. ABC's Stephen Portnoy reports from D.C.
In a statement, Secretary Rubio says UN official Francesca Albanese has spewed unabashed anti-Semitism, expressed support for terrorism, and shown open contempt for the U.S., Israel, and the West. Albanese, who hails from Italy, is the UN Human Rights Council's leading expert on the Palestinian territories. She's accused Israel of genocide in Gaza and called for top Israeli officials to be prosecuted by the International Criminal Court. Last year, the Biden administration's UN ambassador said Albanese was unfit for her role.
Another win for the Trump administration after the Supreme Court said it was acceptable for the President of the United States to use an executive order to downsize the federal workforce. The Tuesday ruling by the justices overrode a lower court's order which temporarily froze the cuts enacted by the Department of Government Efficiency. ABC's Devin Dwyer has more.
Now, that order by the president had been challenged by unions, nonprofit groups, local governments. They said it was unconstitutional, that only Congress can approve the restructuring of the federal government. But this was an 8-1 decision, essentially saying that the order itself to begin planning to restructure the entire federal government is okay. But the court was careful to say they take no position on the actual plans, so legal challenges could still come.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she was the lone dissension in that decision. Afton Bain, she wants a new job. The Democrat state reps announced she's going to be running for the 7th congressional district seat that was left open by the retirement of Congressman Mark Green. State reps Jody Barrett and Bo Mitchell, they're also making a bid for that same seat. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Satan knows Scripture better than some Christians, and for that reason should be respected because he has centuries of experience in deceiving and tempting people. Satan understands our human nature and our motivations. Satan has the power to plant thoughts in our minds if we allow it through ignorance. John 13:2, during supper, the devil having already put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, to betray him, that being Jesus, Satan can possess non-believers as well. Luke 22:3, and Satan entered into Judas, who was called Iscariot, belonging to the number of the 12. Satan actually tries harder on Christians because Christians become his enemies when we accept Christ as our Savior. The best news, Christians share in Jesus' victory since he defeated Satan's power on the cross. John 16:33, these things I have spoken to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you may have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. Scan to learn more.
In the Rivergate area, 65 northbound, just before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard, a crash there has some lanes blocked. And still trying to clear up this mess, 24 eastbound near Murfreesboro Pike, an earlier accident there, still trying to deal with the remnants of that. And we have a crash in Madison, 65 northbound near Old Hickory Boulevard that's fouling some things up. And the issues up in Clarksville getting better. 2 separate wrecks over there have been moved out of the way on 24 westbound at exit 11, but the backup still is a problem. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, like the man told you, and this is the Matt Murphy Show, episode 838. What is going on? Hello, how are you? Hope you're well. Many of you getting off work, sliding into that hot vehicle, getting it cranked up, getting that AC going. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great day, and hope we can make the drive home a little more pleasant with the mellifluous sounds of Matt Murphy and company. Company in the form of Jackson Williams behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. Jay Harper. Hello. Sorry.
What's up?
My bad. I should allow you to respond when I say that. Jay Harper's behind the glass, and he is doing double duty today, news and traffic, in the absence of Ken Weaver, who is just fine, by the way. But speaking of AC, Ken Weaver had his AC go out, and so he had to deal with that, and he will be back tomorrow. Speaking of being back, well, look who's back. I would have told Jackson to get the Welcome Back Cotter song on, but it was such a disaster on Monday. We're going to give him a couple of weeks to recover. But look who is back in the saddle today. It is none other than our weekly friend. He's not even a guest. He's family. It's Cameron Smith.
And the crowd goes wild.
Woohoo.
Woohoo. I was getting people that were, Jason in particular was like, oh, yeah, right. Like, you're not back yet. What are you doing? Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Timing's everything.
You know what they say? You know what the old saying is, Jackson?
Better late than never?
Yeah, that saying's wrong. Sometimes never's better.
It's okay, Jackson.
I'm so mean. Have you met Jackson?
I have met Jackson.
He's just a bundle of fun, a bundle of joy. Thank you, Jackson, for giving us the little welcome back song. Welcome back, Cameron. Where you been?
I've been in Alaska, man. Just a wild frontier. The land of the midnight sun.
Yeah, is that what they say?
Yes. And oddly, I had one of the weirdest things I had while there was from 49th State Brewing. I had spruce soda.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And it was good.
What is spruce soda? Is it made from a spruce tree?
No idea. It's green. It is named after the spruce tree, but ultimately it's think like a fizzy Gatorade, fizzy lemon lime Gatorade. Or like
non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic.
Okay.
And it's...
I would dig this. I like lemon lime Gatorade. The original, the OG.
It was like a non-chemically tasting Mountain Dew. I mean, they're kind of either way. But like it was neat. It was pretty cool.
You bring some of that back for your buddy?
I'm actually working on that right now, trying to get back some of this stuff because we went fishing for halibut and salmon, and I got that today. It showed up from FedEx. Sent it.
Wait, so you fish it and then you clean? Do you clean it?
Yeah.
You fish it, clean it, they pack it, they ship it.
Yeah, per pound. By far the most expensive fish I've ever eaten.
I'm certain.
Really excited. But the boys, we went on a fishing trip. We caught our limit of halibut and rockfish, and some salmon, and they want to be like, Dad, we ate it, but like we didn't really have anywhere to put it right there. So
you could have just gone at it raw.
Yeah,
I suppose. I am certain that of the 5, I would be willing to bet 3 of the 5 you could have convinced to take a bite of raw fish.
Yeah, the captain on the boat had to be like, guys, that fish is a spiny rockfish, and those fins are poisonous.
Might not want to grab that one.
Don't do that. And they were like, are you for real?
What was the craziest thing you saw?
I still can't get over a moose. I mean,
you saw a moose up close and in person?
Yeah, so
I've
probably
never
100
had
yards.
the pleasure. I hear they're big.
I've seen pictures and I've heard that nothing prepares you for the real deal. And a big bull moose,
like it's still bigger than you think it's going to be.
I'm like, whoa, that is a lot. Denali was amazing. Seeing bears in the wild.
We call that McKinley now, buddy.
I've heard the
Gulf of America.
The mountain has been changed to McKinley. The park, I believe, is still Denali.
Well, for the time being, we'll figure that out.
And the people there, particularly the hippies, are like,
it's Denali, man.
The natives call it Denali, so we need to. I'm like, I don't care what you call it. It's pretty cool. It's very
nice.
big. And we got to see Denali, which it's 20,000 foot. It's a giant mountain. But a lot of times it has clouds around it and stuff. We actually got to see it, and it was amazing.
I'm very jealous of you, and I want to go. I was looking. Hold on, John. What's his name? John. I can never remember this guy's name. I've got his book now. I've told you the story about the guy that just went into the wilderness. He retired as a machinist at the age of 51, and John. Perkepney, something like that. Anyway, he kept detailed journals. He went to Alaska. He bought a piece of land. He stayed at a buddy's cabin, and over the summer, staying at a buddy's cabin, he would row down the river. And on his piece of property, he built his cabin. Everything he built by hand. He literally brought like a shovel and an axe and a saw, and that was it. And everything else he built by hand. And he lived there for like 30 plus years. And you can still go visit his cabin.
So you mentioned that to me. And so I'm on the lookout, right?
Right.
And they have rednecks in Alaska, just so you know.
Oh, I bet.
Now they call them homesteaders. And these are basically people that do exactly what you just said. And when I took the train from Anchorage to Denali, it's an 8-hour train ride. And off to the side, we're seeing these like, what I can clearly identify as redneck houses. Like it's like got some plywood there, some rain buckets, some tarp. Like it's pretty creative looking. Now some of them look pretty cool, but most of them I'm like, that's a redneck house.
Mm-hmm.
These were people that are like, I've had enough. Moving to Alaska, living in the wilderness.
This guy, I mean, I'm fascinated. I don't think I could do it because I think the isolation would get to me eventually, but he loved it. And he would document it with an 8mm camera. He would write in his journal every day. I mean, but when you're talking about wilderness living, you're talking about during the wintertime, he would have to reshovel the path every day to the river and then re-auger the hole in the river because it would freeze up during the night, and he would have to auger it another. I think it was 3 feet in total, and like half of it would freeze up, and he would have to re-auger it every day just to get water.
They have a saying that the summer is the illusion and winter is reality in Alaska. Summer is glorious. It was so nice. We went along the coast, and then we went into the interior, and it was amazing. But they said, oh, yeah, by the way, for like 9 months of the year, it's 30 below and dark. So, you know, summer is great.
There's that.
But the living here, the rest of the year part, it's a challenge.
His name is Dick Pronecki, Pronenneke, and his cabin is on Twin Lakes. And it's fascinating. I've got the book of the tools that he used that have been documented to live his life out there for the 30-plus years that he was out there. It's a fascinating study in a guy that decides, you know what, I just want to check out. And he did.
This is like a libertarian's paradise because it's literally like the Ron Swanson license. Like, I got a license. What does it say? I can do what I want.
Yeah, I do.
In Alaska, they're like, yeah, we don't have anybody here to like monitor this, but we need you to not die. And that's their sort of attitude. They're like, well, it's public land. Okay, fine. We need you to not die.
Well, and that's the thing is that, I mean, it's the ultimate. I mean, you call it the libertarian's paradise, but it truly is because you have all the freedom that you want, every bit of the freedom, but you also have every bit of the responsibility.
It could kill you.
Right. I mean, if something goes wrong,
you're up.
I mean, the possibility exists that you're just going to die from that. I mean, whether it's an infection or a spider bite or whatever.
So we learned some of the history about, folks with the gold rush and stuff. And we were on the Chilkoot Trail, and they said this trail, the part we were on, it's 33 miles long. And you would have to carry your provisions for a year to prove that you could survive. So you'd have to do like 100 trips that are 33 miles to prove before the, I guess, Park Service or whoever would let you go explore because you're otherwise just going to die.
You're just going to die, and we just don't want you to die.
Right.
Yeah, 0336 says Alaska has 4 seasons. Early winter, midwinter, late winter, and next winter.
Well, what was funny for me, and obviously I'm a son of the South, so I'm used to like heat and humidity. First, cold and humidity, totally unsettling. But the rainforest along the North Pacific coast is bizarre. It's 50 degrees and it's really humid. So that threw me off. The sunlight threw me off. But also the fact when we were in Fairbanks in the Chaina River, they said, well, the river freezes solid and we use it like a runway and a road until somebody falls in. And then we don't use it anymore because it turns back into a river.
That's smart.
And I was like, that's an interesting way of testing that.
And yes, I'm aware a lot of you are noting on the super text line. The first thing that my awareness of Dick Pernecki was from the PBS documentary about him that was on, I don't know, several years ago. He was 53, lived there for over 30 years, eventually moved back to be with his family and died soon after. But it is an incredible thing. He was a machine. I think he was in the military, and then he became a machinist. He worked in a machine shop. So he understood how to work with his hands, and off to Alaska.
I took the train through Wasilla, and you can't see Russia from there. I checked.
So
Sarah Palin.
So Palin was a big fat liar.
Yes,
you can see Russia from my house.
I checked. It wasn't there. And also,
maybe the leaves were off the trees when she said
they said she's our most famous politician, and she no longer lives here. And I'm like,
and that is the end of that story.
Thank you. And we're moving on.
Hey, Mark, I want to get to you because you've been patient enough, and I appreciate your call. It is on a separate topic, not on the Alaska conversation, but you wanted to talk about Medicare/Medicaid. Mark, you're on.
Yes, how y'all doing?
Mark, I'm fabulous. I hope you are.
I just want to know, the Medicare and Medicaid is not run 100% by the government. It is run by privately owned insurance companies. So I've been trying to get these people, and I'm going to have to say their name because they don't want to drop me. I've had leukemia for 18 years, been going to Vanderbilt. And so WellCare took me in on my prescription. Now they have took me over as my primary, and they don't want to drop me. I called Medicare, and I said, hey, I worked 54 years to get this. Now, WellCare is a privately owned insurance company that gets paid. So they pay my bill, then they turn around and double bill Medicare. And that's not right. The government needs to cut all them private insurance companies out and hire more government workers.
Let me talk to you about this, Mark, because.
But can I say one thing?
Well,
can I say one last thing, and then you can say whatever. They've been calling me and saying, Mr. Musgrove, we can find you a provider just as good as the one you've been going to for 18 years. I don't want to change. I want to stay with the Vanderbilt. I've been going there for 18 years. I don't need somebody, privately owned insurance company, telling me where I can go, and you'll find me a doctor just as good as the one I've been going and seeing for 18 years.
No, I understand that you want to keep your same physician in the same locations that you've been going to. WellCare is a subsidiary. WellCare is a privately owned company, but they're a managed care service.
Right.
They are not a part of Medicare. They're not a part of Medicaid. But what they do is they manage your Medicaid and your Medicare for you. And yeah, you're right. They do that for people who can't manage it or don't manage it for themselves for the purpose of making money. They charge you a premium on top of whatever Medicaid or Medicare would charge, or they take a cut out of that. I don't know exactly how the business model works. At some point, I would assume, Mark, I mean, I don't want to assume anything, but I would think at some point you had to agree for WellCare to take over the management of your Medicare.
No, they started out as a prescription because I was on a $300 a day pill, and they come in taking that. I don't know how. I did not agree for them to manage No, I don't need no management. I had.
Well, you may not have. I mean, Mark, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to assume things that I ought not to. Is it possible that you didn't know that that's what you were agreeing to, but that's what happened?
Okay, we're going to say that I agreed to it now, since they won't pay Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt said, and Medicare said, call them up and cancel and go straight back. They don't want to let me go. They want to keep me as a victim. They want me to change hospitals and change doctors. They don't want to lose me. I feel like a victim now.
Right.
I feel like a customer.
Well, if you, I don't believe that I have the answer for you, but I bet you that there is someone listening right now, Mark, that might have an answer. There has to be a way for you to get out of this and just get back. I mean, what you're trying to do is just get back to Medicare, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked 54 years, paid in.
I don't know that I have the specific answer, but if there's an attorney that deals with these types of things, or if there's someone listening right now, please call us to help Mark out. Mark, are you listening right now?
Yes, sir. I listen
All right.
every day to
Okay.
y'all.
Please keep listening, because you got. I mean, however this happened, you're trying to get out from under the thumb, and this happened to my grandfather, and I just remember that we were in the midst of the biggest pain in our butts on planet Earth trying to pull it back. I tell you what I might do. I don't know if he might have an answer for you or not, but Mark, my man Shane Ring over at Cover Nash, you hear me talking about him?
Yeah.
Maybe you got a pen or a piece of paper over there?
Yes, sir.
All right, write this number down and tell Shane I told you to call. And if he doesn't know, maybe he can find somebody that does. It's 465-0023.
465
0023.
0023. Yeah, because I called Medicare, and Medicare said, all you got to do is call them, and they'll drop it, and we'll pick you back up. And August the 1st, we'll start taking over. But WellCare don't want to let go because, I'm a victim now. I'm not a customer. I'm not a client. I wanted y'all to take me off your program, and they don't want to do it.
Well, if anybody... No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've got to get to a commercial break. But here's what I would say: keep listening, get that number, and call Shane. And I don't know if just tell Shane that you talked to me on the phone, and I recommended you call him. Now he might just have some advice for you. He might not know which direction to take, but I understand that this is not just a problem for you, Mark. It's a problem for a lot of people that they don't realize. My grandfather did this, and thank you, Mark, for the call. My grandfather's the smartest man I ever knew. And he did not realize that he was signing up for a subsidized insurance where the managed care takes over, and they make so many of the decisions, and they decide what is charged. You just lose a lot of the control.
Right.
And then when you call Medicare, you know what Medicare tells you? We can't talk to you. You have
can't
to start with
switch
them.
back and forth.
Right. You can't switch back to them. So we'll try to figure out something for you. 25 after the hour. Quick timeout. Back in a moment on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Safe House is right downtown on 4th Avenue South, just across the street from City Cemetery. You've probably seen Nashville Safe House. Have you ever been in? I have. I know. And we've seen the incredible selection of safes that they have in stock and ready for you, of all shapes, of all sizes, of all fire ratings. I mean, they've got safes for the gun enthusiast that you would not believe. Huge things. And if the biggest safe is not big enough for you, they got vault doors. Heck, they can do that for you, too. They can go all the way down to biometrics for the bedside as well. Mark and his team will get that delivery happening for you with your safe from Nashville Safe House. And, yeah, they charge you for delivery because delivery costs something. They don't try to embed it in the cost of the safe. They don't lie to you that way. Plus, remember that gun safes are sales tax-free at Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com, NashvilleSafeHouse.com for more information, or stop by 4th Avenue South. Hello, folks. It's Matt Murphy for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Painisbad.com is the website. You know why we say that? Because pain is bad, and painisbad.com. Now, I had a hard time believing this yesterday, but I looked down and I saw that Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley had a brand new special to encourage those of you who are currently in pain to do something about it, to get off the couch and make that pain go away with a comprehensive examination, x-rays, and a diagnosis and your first treatment. And I saw it was the Big Daddy Trump special for $12. $12? $12? Are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are my doctors. I made the switch to Dr. Mitch because he is superior in every way with regard to what he is doing, the modern techniques that he utilizes to eliminate pain without the need for needles, without the need for surgery, without the need for anything other than spinal decompression and other methods to help alleviate the pain in your back or wherever it hurts. Go to painisbad.com.
Wow, who was that guy? All right. Hey, President Trump, he's still meeting with leaders of various African nations today. We'll have details. More tariff letters also from the president to U.S. trade partners, and over 100 dogs rescued in Jolton. We'll have details. That's all coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I mean, it's right around the corner because Matt Murphy is perpetually late. Perpetually late. I got a clock right in front of me, and I'm perpetually late. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 places where the time is within my reach, and I can't stay on time. How about that? Any quick 30-second advice for for our caller there that's concerned about, he's concerned about these third-party supplementals.
So managed care organizations for certain folks can be easier depending on their treatment challenges, but we've run into the same deal with our family and the elderly folks in our family where the third-party providers, they may get you access in certain areas because they're not the traditional plan, but then there's pitfalls and other challenges. Right. So make sure you know what you're doing.
Well, and I just remember it, and the caller brought up these memories to me that my grandfather at one point, a couple of years before he passed away, he had become convinced that Medicare had dropped him because Medicare would route him back to his managed service provider that he had agreed to, and he did not realize that he had agreed to what he had agreed to. So, yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, and we'll try to get you some answers as best we can. 31 after the hour, it's time for the news. When we return, we'll talk about Jeffrey Epstein. We'll talk about the big, beautiful bill, get Cameron's take on that, all to come, plus a wasted bacon update. You asked for it, and you're getting it on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 31 minutes past 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper in for Ken Weaver. Ken will be back tomorrow. I've got your top stories. We'll get you a full weather forecast and another traffic report here shortly. President Trump is meeting with leaders of various African nations today, and he's touting what he's calling a revamped economic partnership. The president also said the elimination of USAID will lead to more robust trade deals in the region.
We have closed the USAID group to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, which was tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. And we're working tirelessly to forge new economic opportunities involving both the United States and many African nations.
More tariff letters from the president to U.S. trade partners. Karen Travers reports.
President Trump posted on social media letters he sent to the leaders of Algeria, Brunei, Iraq, Libya, Moldova, and the Philippines, informing them of the tariff rates that will go into effect on August 1st for goods imported from those countries into the U.S. The president extended his pause on tariffs. They were set to go into effect today, but now that new deadline is August 1st, as the administration continues talks with trade partners. The president said Tuesday he considers negotiations to be too time-consuming at this point.
A letter means a deal. You know, a lot of people said, we got 200 countries. We can't meet with 200 countries.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a controversial library policy is back under consideration in Sumner County. Today, the library board in Sumner County reviewed an overhaul of what materials are allowed on shelves in each of their 5 public libraries. They previously tabled the policy change back in May. The change would give the library board total authority in curating the collection items in libraries and remove any materials that could be seen as inappropriate for children, like anything with transgender or gender fluid themes or sexual content. An appeals process for materials was put back into the proposed policy, but all book appeals would still have to go through the board. And finally, News 2 reports more than 100 dogs have been rescued from an apparent animal hoarding case in Jolton. The Cheatham County Sheriff's Office, they're assisting the Cheatham County Animal Control and the Animal Rescue Corps at a residence along the 1000 block of Johns Road in Jolton. This happened on Tuesday. Yorkies, Maltese, poodles, and other quote-unquote designer mixes were recovered from the residents, all living in what the Animal Rescue Corps called extremely neglectful conditions. The Corps said that at least one dog was confirmed dead, and several others had to be rushed to an emergency vet. Michael Cunningham, the organization's director of administration, told News 2 that the lives of several of the smaller puppies in particular were in danger. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. In Smyrna, we have a stalled vehicle on the off-ramp to Sam Ridley Parkway from 24 eastbound. It's got things a little backed up there. 65 northbound near exit 92. The right shoulder is still blocked in Madison. Got that wreck. We're working. And 65 northbound before Vietnam Vets. A crash there in the Rivergate area still hindering things. And finally, they got all that mess up in the Clarksville area, 24 westbound at exit 11. They do have that cleared up finally. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Dr. Brian McLaughlin and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Let's talk about your sleep. Are you getting a good night's sleep? I mean, you know it if you don't, right? You notice the energy level drops. No amount of coffee can get you going in the morning, and you wonder why. Is it possible that you have sleep apnea? You know, I didn't know it. Because I did not snore very much. Most sleep apnea patients, they do a fair amount of snoring. But for me, I was one of the 25% that did not. Dr. Stephen Poss took me under his wing, and Dr. Poss has retired or is retiring, and Dr. Brian McLaughlin is now the key man over at the Tennessee Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. He said, you know what, you might have, get yourself a sleep test. I did. Now I have an FDA-approved oral device, fits in my mouth, keeps the airway open. I sleep throughout the night. I breathe throughout the night. No health issues anymore, and I feel energetic in the morning. They are in network with most insurance providers in the state of Tennessee, and they have two locations, one in Brentwood and the other in Murfreesboro. Go to TennesseeSleep.com. That's TennesseeSleep.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, a number of your suggestions for our man Mark, I believe it was. I don't know if this is the case, but several have mentioned it, that you should be able to call 1-800-MEDICARE, Mark. I mean, several people have said this. Call 1-800-MEDICARE, get a person on the phone, which is probably going to be more difficult than I'm making it out to be, and tell them that you want to drop your Advantage plan and go back to straight up Medicare. Sounds like that's what you've got, and they'll re-enroll you in regular Medicare, which will drop you from the rolls of WellCare. That's 1-800-MEDICARE. A number of people have suggested that. So that's what I can tell you right now. Should be able to switch back just by making the call. Let's see, anybody else? Medicare Advantage programs are a scam. I'm getting a lot of those. Yeah, so that's that. We've got a couple of folks that want to talk about it. By the way, have we established it? Jay's out on Ninkapoos. We got 3, though.
Would you like to do?
We got a 3. I mean, he doesn't have. He's got a lot going on back there. We got 3 already.
I couldn't do it.
You want in?
Yeah,
Okay.
man.
Well, in that case, Thomas, hang in. Donna, you hang in. Tim, you hang in. Because we promise to do this at the same time on a daily basis at 41 minutes after the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what the news is. It's time to find the Ninkampoops.
Nincompoops in the news.
And so, subbing in for Ken Weaver, there's Jay Harper behind the 2 panes of glass. Behind the 1 pane of glass, there is Jackson Williams. Right here in studio with me is Cameron Smith. He participates on these Wednesdays, and I'm yours truly, Matt Murphy. All of us with Nincompoop stories. We tell them, and you vote at 615-737-9986. Jay, you might not know this, but we changed the rules slightly in as much as the winner of the previous Nincompoops in the news gets to go first.
Yeah, okay.
And as a result, it is your honor, unless you want to defer to others while you gather your thoughts on the Nincompoops, because Ken Weaver won yesterday.
Okay.
I'll give you the honor if you'd like it.
Yeah, I can dive in here, but as I've said before, whenever I kind of do this, fill-in work, I'm not familiar with what may have been done before, so
we'll give you the grace. We'll give you the grace.
Because
they don't give it to me; they just make fun of me.
Yeah, well, that happened to me too. So. But anyway,
we'll give you the grace unless it's a repeat, and then we'll ridicule you.
All right, yeah, that's fair enough. Let's see. This is a man who tried. This is overseas now. A man who tried to rob a Glasgow store while armed with a cucumber. It came out of his pants when he was tackled to the ground by an off-duty police officer. Gary Ruff, he brandished the vegetable. He had it covered in a black sock.
I bet he did.
Yeah, and he pointed it at a woman who worked at the store, demanded cash. She refused. Well, when they tackled the guy, they discovered it's a cucumber. He initially told police, hey, I'm just kidding. And am I going to jail for this? Yeah, he's in the pokey now for 2 years.
Pokey?
Yeah,
Wonder
in the
if they'll
pokey
let him keep the cucumber.
With the cucumber, right.
You don't want to be in the pokey with a cucumber.
No.
You're not in a good situation if the situation that you're in involves brandishing
a cucumber.
The cucumber.
Don't be that guy.
Covered in a black sock.
Especially if it's cold outside.
Sounds like a wild Saturday night.
Yeah, boy.
I love it. All right, I'm going next because, I'm the host. What? Don't give me that look.
Oh, come on.
I just want to jump in front of this because already Cameron Smith tried to steal my story, but I got him off of it. Key West, Florida.
Oh, no.
Uh-huh.
Florida man.
Key West police say you better rush for another one. Key West police say a man told police officers, quote, "Today is my birthday," after being told he was under arrest for stealing a conch tour train on the 4th of July. Was that your story, by the way?
Yes.
I figured. It's just so good. According to an arrest report, July 4th was indeed Jonathan Patrick Winslow's birthday, his 57th, as a matter of fact. He is currently facing 3 criminal charges after being accused of taking one of the famous conch tour trains on a meth-fueled joyride. Police went to the conch tour train depot at 1802 Staples Avenue just before 11:30 in the morning Friday after receiving a report that the train had been stolen and was being GPS tracked around downtown. The arrest report states that Winslow of Big Torch Key left his Kia behind at the depot, still running, with rock and roll music playing on the radio. He just left his car running. Police say an employee told police officers that he had come to the depot, claimed he used to work for the company years ago, asked for a tour of the train. They said he then got into one of the vehicles and drove off, leaving the employee confused, thinking that Winslow may have had permission to take it. He did not have permission to take it. Another employee was able to retrieve the stolen conch train. Authorities say that Winslow had even picked up 2 random passengers while driving the vehicle. He was just taking everybody around on a joyride. They found Winslow at the southernmost point buoy. Everybody that's been to Key West has been to the southernmost point buoy, right? Police say he, quote, exhibited rapid speech, appeared excited, and when told he was facing charges, claimed that he merely borrowed the trolley and said that he used to work for the company, and then said, as if this settled everything, today is my birthday. While being searched at the corrections office, a pipe was found in which he said it was a weed pipe. It was not, in fact, a weed pipe. It was a meth pipe. He faces numerous charges. There you go. Jackson?
All right, found this one on the fly. We have a case of the worst hitman ever in Australia. Man crawls out of grave before CCTV shows him in a gas station, with a bullet in his head. A man climbed out of his own grave from when he was shot in the head and later walked to a service station. The Australian man had been targeted by a contract crew of hitmen who are also believed to be responsible for 2 other deadly attacks within a week. CCTV footage shows the would-be murder victim, 23, covered in the dirt from his own grave, walking into a service station at a south of Brisbane service station on July 21st of last year. He arrived at the service station with a bullet lodged in his brain, but begged the staff not to call emergency services. They did take him to the hospital against his wishes.
Against his wishes?
Yes.
Nice. Got to get him all tidied up. Mr. Smith, your entry, sir.
So I was going to do the Australia poisonous mushroom trial, but it's actually interesting and not a nincompoop per se. Because there's always a Florida man, even a different one. This is the Marion County Sheriff's Office. They've got this whole interaction on video on July 8th around 4:20 a.m. Mm-hmm. Deputy Mingus spotted Jacob Daniel Caldwell.
Deputy Mingus.
Walking down Highway 19 and stopped to check on him. Because, you see a guy on the highway, you stop to check. Instead of a calm conversation, the deputy was met with a flare gun being fired directly at his patrol car. Oh, no. Caldwell continued with odd behavior by removing his pants and throwing money at Deputy Mingus and refusing to comply. Deputy Mingus deployed his taser twice, but Caldwell continued to pull out the probes. Eventually, he was taken into custody. Yeah. It did not go well, but he was transported to the Gold Star Hotel.
What? To the Gold? What?
Gold.
I see.
The Gold Star Hotel.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
The old Gray Bar Hotel.
Yes.
The old gray lady. The joint.
Yeah. First, the guy's checking on you, and you're like, I'm going to shoot you with a flare gun.
I'm going to have to shoot you with a flare gun now.
And
I was like, hey, I just want to make sure everything, boom!
Yes. And after that, my instinct would be, well, now I'm in trouble. I better run. Instead, I'm going to take my pants off, and I'm going to throw some money at you.
There we go. By the way, everybody's dinging me for mispronouncing conch.
Oh, maybe I have a shot.
Conch.
Mine was so awful, but I have a chance.
Is it conch?
Conch.
Be careful.
All right. I mean, whatever. If y'all want to pronounce things incorrectly, it's C-O-N-C-H. I speak American, and in America, we pronounce C-H.
Were you one of the freedom prize people?
If they wanted it to be pronounced conch, it would be spelled C-O-N-K. Okay? Now, if you foreigners want to challenge me on that, that's fine. But we speak American. And in America,
that's right,
we call it conch.
Exactly, Matt Murphy.
That's right. Dang foreigners.
Mate. Thank you very much. That's how we play Ninkapoo's in the News. You get to vote. Vote Jay, vote Jackson, vote Cameron, or vote correctly. 615-737-9986. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Earlier today, you heard me reference my man Shane Ring and Cover Nash. It's just wonderful to have a great resource like Shane. Whether you're preparing to change insurances or you just have a basic insurance question, Shane is a fountain of knowledge, and he most certainly can protect and to help you. How much do you pay for health insurance? Do you know? Do you overpay? Do you know? Are you getting the proper benefits? Shane Ring is not a call center agent. He is a local health insurance expert in Middle Tennessee, and he knows that you don't have to pay for plans that you don't need or that don't serve you best. Shane sits down with you to shop the entire health plan market so you know every health plan that is available. Go to Shane's Brentwood office and sit down with him in person or call him up on the phone. 615-465-0023, 465-0023 or covernash.com. That's covernash.com.
Now, residents of Ruidoso, New Mexico, they too experiencing some just devastating flooding and more harrowing stories coming out of the flooding in Texas. And measles cases, they're on the rise. We'll have those stories at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, we're going to tackle some of the hard stuff right here in just a second on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, by my tally, big winner for Ninkapoops in the news today. It stays in the news closet. Jay Harper on delivery. I mean, several people said on delivery alone, but man, when you have a big cucumber and a black sock, I mean, I guess hard to beat.
Yes, that's right. I must admit.
So congratulations to Jay Harper. But the controversy of the day surrounds my pronunciation of the word conch. And many of you, including Cameron Smith, you're telling me that I'm saying it wrong.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. The proper pronunciation is
conch.
Conch. And so I did what any, curmudgeonly ne'er-do-well would do. I did not believe any of you, and I went to the Oxford English Language Dictionary. And this is what, so for all of you saying that I'm pronouncing it incorrectly and it ought to be conch, let's see what Oxford says. Y'all ready?
Conch. Conch.
To which the intrepid Cameron Smith looked it up on the internet and said the preferred American English pronunciation is conch. The Brits say conch.
Yes. That is the Oxford Dictionary, after all. So that would be Brits. But
that ain't Mississippi, buddy.
Hey, I'm gonna pull a page out of Dan Mandis's playbook when I say, y'all know what I have to say to that?
Conch. Conch.
That sounds gross.
Conch.
Okay, Redcoat, you're doing great.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? You know what? When I read Lord of the Flies, Piggy didn't have the conch. He had the conch. Piggy's got the conch. Piggy's got the conch. You ever see the movie?
Yeah, probably a British director.
Conch.
Conch.
Okay, Oxford.
Look, that's all look, when you write a dictionary and put it out, you can pronounce it any way you want to.
William Shakespeare would say conch.
That's exactly right.
Probably.
And if William Shakespeare, Cameron Smith, William Shakespeare.
And if you want to win a revolution, you say conch.
As in conch on the head? As in,
like what we did to the British?
Well, we did do that. Bunch of rednecks.
Just saying.
So you're saying that the suggestion is exactly the opposite of my argument that I made a few minutes ago?
Yes, it is. Happens.
But the guy you're playing, he sounds American, though.
Conch.
He doesn't sound conch.
No, that's exactly right.
He's not saying conch.
Look, for all of you, it's conch, it's conch, it's conch, it's conch.
Conch.
So, that's all I can tell you. Let's get to more serious matters. Thomas has perhaps a note of suggestion for our man, Mark. Hey, Thomas, how are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I can explain Medicare to you. However, you don't have enough time. So I can give you a
that's no fun.
simplified explanation. I am a physician in Middle Tennessee. I started dealing with Medicare in 1978 when I started doing insurance claims in my father's office. I have dealt with him since that time. The simple explanation, things that people do not understand that I see every day in my office. Medicare is administered by CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is a federal agency. And being a federal agency is very important from the standpoint of your rights to deal with them, which are very limited with agencies, just like they are with the IRS. Standard Medicare is an 80-20 plan. Medicare, CMS, sets the charges that any physician or hospital has to bill them. It's not determined by the physician. It's not determined by the hospital. It is determined by CMS. And it is different for every hospital. And that is mandated by their regulations. What Medicare pays a physician is mandated by CMS. The amount that a physician gets paid is calculated based on where you live in the country and the size of the city you are in. If you are in a large city, you get paid more. If you are in a rural area, you get paid less. No one seems to understand this.
All right, so you, Thomas, I want to, if you have, Thomas, if you have the ability, can you hold for just a second?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I don't want to interrupt you, but you were right. It's a complex enough issue that we are at the news time, and I want to get to the news with Jay Harper per our promise, top and the bottom of the every hour, and then we'll get back to Thomas. We'll get to Tim as well, and I want to kind of relate this. I mean, I understand it's, I guess, it's an important conversation. I understand what Medicare is and how they bill, but how does that translate to third parties and what Mark's issue was? Maybe Thomas has a pivot to that in just a moment. It's 1 minute after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening. It is 1 minute past 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A weather forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. The riverbank town of Ruidoso, New Mexico, they experienced a major flash flood just 4 days after the Texas Hill Country did. 3 lives have been lost, a man and 2 children. The USGS, which most people associate with earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, also monitors river flows and crest marks. Ruidoso had a monitor installed by the U.S. Geological Survey, and knew trouble was coming, according to Town Public Information Officer Carrie Gladden. Gladden told ABC News the Riverside community, they are no stranger to floods either.
I do know that this community is resilient, and we'll come together and we'll do whatever it takes to get back on our feet. And at the same time, I will say it's heartbreaking.
This was a record-breaking flash flood that swept through the New Mexico village on Tuesday. Major flooding occurs at 15 feet, and the river reached just over 20 feet yesterday. And Jake Ramsey, he's remembering his father, Jeff, as a hero who wanted nothing more but to give back. The 61-year-old insurance agent used his spare time helping amputees and people in wheelchairs build up their strength by running a specialty gym. Well, he was camping with his wife, Tanya, his brother-in-law, and his spouse when the floodwaters hit in Texas. In this man's final moments, he made a call to his kids. That's when he officially learned the flood was coming through.
While he was on the phone with my sister, it was a message from the RV park saying, gather your things and make your way to the Walmart or wherever it was everybody was meeting.
Jake also said it's because of his dad's strength that he's able to get through all this without any animosity. And according to the CDC, there are now almost 1,300 confirmed cases of measles across 38 states, numbers that we haven't seen in 30 years. 2 children and 1 adult have already died. None of them were vaccinated. The MMR vaccine is about 97% effective in preventing getting the disease. ABC's medical correspondent, Dr. Darren Sutton, tells us why the cases are so high.
Unfortunately, as we've seen in the recent years, there's been a steady decline in the percent of children that have been fully vaccinated or have been participating in their routine vaccinations, now just under 93%. Now, that might not seem like a big difference from that protective number that we need of 95%, but that's also equivalent to 280,000 children that are currently in kindergarten that are not up to date on their vaccine.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. In the Metro Center part of town, 65 northbound, just after Rosa Parks Boulevard. We've got a crash there backing things up. 24 eastbound, right before I-440 at exit 53, a crash reported. Out in West Nashville, Charlotte Avenue at 46th Avenue, a crash. And also Dickerson Pike at Briley Parkway, we've got a wreck. And finally down in Brentwood, 65 southbound at Old Hickory Boulevard South at exit 74, we've got a crash reported there. We have your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 8 minutes after 6 o'clock. We continue. Hour number 4 of the Matt Murphy Radio Show starts right now. We'll get back to Thomas momentarily. Tim, we'll get to you as well. A number of conversational topics that we'll bring up this hour to include Jeffrey Epstein, a criminal probe into John Brennan and James Comey. Let's see, an 8-1 decision, Supreme Court decision yesterday with the lone dissenting voice being Ketanji Brown Jackson, who apparently remains an unimpressive and unqualified dolt. And then there's the big debate, conch or conch, that is continuing to go on. Several of you on the Super Text line, and thank you all for being regular listeners and being there with us. We appreciate you. We'll try to get you home safe and sound. Jay Harper's got the traffic. He's got the news. He's got everything but, my blathering. Cameron Smith is here. He does not blather. He speaks. He opines in a pithy fashion.
I do my best.
And Jackson controls the entire experience. So there you go. But I thank you. Those who were listening yesterday around this time wanted a Kathy update. Kathy called yesterday and said that she was meeting with Afton Ben this morning and wanted some advice as to how to tackle this issue of immigration with Afton. I offered that advice, and I've not heard from Kathy about how the get-together went. I'm very excited to hear. But I'm also here to tell you that I have been in communique with Afton Ben myself. And so the possibility exists that Afton and I might have a coffee here in the near future.
She doesn't seem super afraid.
No, and I'm appreciative of that.
I respect that.
I mean, that's fine. She's been on my show a couple of times when I was on in the midday. She has not responded to my several requests for her to come on in the afternoon. But now that she's running for the 7th Congressional District as a Democrat, now that Mark Green has stepped down, maybe she will be more willing to step forward. And
I just don't think she's going to win that.
Yeah, so I was a bit confused, and I just want an update. I did not get in contact with Trey Hargett as promised, the Secretary of State, but I am less confused today because I didn't know with this special election, I was a little concerned that Democrats and Republicans would all be in the same pool. And then the Republicans would split the votes, but that's not how it works. There will be a primary, and then the two winners out of the primaries, and it's a kind of most votes win, so you don't have to have a majority. You just have to have the most, and then whoever has the most out of the Democrats and the most out of the Republicans, they'll face off.
Well, this was the Andy Ogles thing. Like this was where Andy had the primary that first round that there were just not very many votes in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
this special is going to be like boom, 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 bim, bang, boom. We'll have somebody by October, I think.
I mean, she's likable. The numbers do not favor a Democrat.
Well, it's funny because she is a likable person, but I have found that she has become increasingly pushy.
Yep.
Over the last 6 months, and as she we were just listening to a campaign ad that she put out on Instagram, and the third word out of her mouth was BS. She called, instead of the big, beautiful bill, she calls it the big BS bill. And she says BS, which I guess if the president says it.
Yeah. That was my word.
I, by the way, would remind you that we have a podcast available for your perusal called All the Best Words with Cameron Smith and Matt Murphy. And I happen to know that the next dropped podcast will include the word BS, but it's the word, and it's not even my word.
The president said it, so you can say it. That's what I'm going to tell my mom.
Well, I guess so. But the more pushy she becomes or the more aggressive she becomes, I wonder if that's going to be off-putting to some people that are maybe not paying as much
This is the problem of liberal tolerance. It's like, I'm totally fine and affable and tolerant until you disagree with me, and then guess what?
It is one of my favorite political quotes, and I know I always mangle it because I never actually look up the specific verbiage, but it was William F. Buckley who said, liberals are groups of people who gather together and applaud themselves as to how tolerant they are of others' viewpoints, and then they are shocked and dismayed to learn that there are any.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
I mean, it's true. So we'll try to get Afton on and to talk about Medicaid. I mean, I can't get Gloria. I mean, I got $3,600 bounty for Gloria Johnson to come on. I can't get her to come on, so maybe I'll get Afton for free.
What's she going to run for?
She's running for nothing, but Gloria was, she basically called all Trump supporters of Nazism, said that,
as you do,
an illegal alien detention center is basically a concentration camp. Not even basically, is a concentration camp. That the supporters of the big, beautiful bill support grandma dying and people losing their health coverage. And she went after Tim Burchett, who I guess is her congressman in Knoxville. So I invited Gloria and Tim to come on the show and talk about Medicaid and to give Tim's perspective and Gloria's perspective. And Tim has accepted and Gloria has not. And so to kind of up the bounty, if you will, I offered $1,000 to a non-political charity of Gloria's choosing if she will come on the show. All she has to do is appear for an hour.
Good on you.
And now that total, we've gotten so many other donations, and I'm just keeping tally of the donations. If you pledge, remember that you pledged, but we're up to $3,600. So $3,600, Gloria, to a charity, non-political charity of your choosing. All you have to do is show up and be on the show for an hour.
Well, for a member of the Tennessee Three, you've got to get just a big audience. I mean, the money's just not persuasive. You got to get her people on. She's historic. You remember that, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And she only, the other two got the boot, and she did not. And she immediately said she didn't get the boot because all of her colleagues were racist.
Because of racism.
It's classic. Let's get back to Thomas. And Thomas is a medical doctor, and he's explaining the Medicare procedures for us. And Thomas, it is a great explanation that you're offering us. And I'm curious, how this relates to these third-party supplementals with Mark calling in and frustrating about this supplemental that he had. Just take the floor from us, Thomas.
Well, as I said, you have to understand initially that reimbursements are mandated by the federal government.
All right, we understand that.
Hospitals are required to participate in Medicare, standard Medicare. Medicare Advantage plans are replacement plans for Medicare. Patients that sign up for these almost always don't know that they are signing up for these. They think they are signing up for supplemental insurance rather than something that replaces their Medicare.
Sure.
And that's the way it is marketed. Now, Medicare Advantage plans have the right to negotiate with hospitals and with physicians to determine what they are going to reimburse for services. So they function as health maintenance organizations for the most part. You can only see a participating provider, which is different from a PPO where you can see people outside the PPO, but they don't pay them very much. In a health maintenance organization, you can only see people that have agreed to participate in the health maintenance organization. An entity like Vanderbilt, being the size that it is and being a tertiary referral center, frequently decides not to participate in certain insurance plans because they don't get reimbursed enough. And they've got more patients than they can see, so they're not going to work for less than they have to. Now, your caller unknowingly signed up for a Medicare replacement.
Right. That's what it seems like, yeah.
Unless the Trump administration has recently changed something that I don't know about. There is an enrollment period for Medicare. It is about 4 weeks, and I think it is in November, could be late October. During that period of time, people get inundated with mailers, with phone calls from marketers. That is the only time you can change your plan.
So the probability
a year where you can get in or out. So Can he get out now? No, he cannot. Now, are they going to explain this to him? Well, no, because
they want to keep him in.
That upsets people.
Yeah.
And they're going to do everything they can to talk him into staying in, but they don't really have to do that until October, November.
Right.
So, like I said, there's a very I can explain Medicare in detail, but it would take me several hours.
Well, we don't have several hours, Doc, and I don't have the gravitas on the radio to do that. Thank you for the call. I'm sorry to cut you short, but we simply have to move along. You've been a wealth of information, a fountain of information, and I deeply appreciate it. Tim will finish the subject with you. Hello, Tim. How are you?
This is Jim.
T-I-M?
Jim, J-I-M.
Oh, J-I-M. Oh, my apologies. Hey, Jim.
Matt, thanks for getting me on. The doctor was pretty accurate on everything. I don't get into billing. I've been a Medicare patient for 14 years, and I've changed my wellness. I've changed 3 times. And anybody that says the Medicare Advantage program is a scam, it's sold to you as something it's not, that's a lie. Your agent tells you what your options are, and you choose what you want. I got on Medicare Advantage when me and my wife were 70. We were paying for a supplement. A guy that had been in insurance all his life I played golf with told me that I was stupid to have a supplement to take the Medicare Advantage. My wife and I have saved $40,000 since we've been on the Advantage program. So I recommend it to anyone.
Well, but do you also recognize, Jim, and I'm not discounting your personal experience, but you also recognize that others might have a different experience.
Well, I agree, but I'm telling you.
Well, why would you call them liars?
No, I didn't call them liars.
Yeah, you did. You said anybody that says that someone does this under false pretenses is a lie. I mean, that's what you said.
Well, maybe I did, but it's not a scam. It's your agent explains to you what your options are, and you pick. And you have, beginning in October till I think December, the first week of December, to change or to select your Medicare program. And obviously, Mark selected one. He might have done it unknowingly. I find that hard to believe. But you select your program, and you're on it, again, like the doctor said, until the year's out.
You mind if I ask you a personal question?
Yes, sir.
Do you use a lot of healthcare services?
I had open heart surgery.
That's a pretty significant one. Because where we noticed the big difference between the Medicare Advantage and the traditional was when my grandfather had dementia. And so that's one of where the difference to them was pretty significant. And then my grandmother had significant health care costs at the end of her life. And so I'm not arguing necessarily on the front end side, but in terms of what the plan pays out with big issues, I think that's part of what we're talking about is different plans may pay different way for different services. So, depending on what your issue is, that can determine how it hits you on the pocketbook.
Not necessarily a scam on the front end, but it feels that way on the back end.
Well, again, I look at the total cost that I'm going to be out. If I go into the hospital, I'm out. It's either $300 or $500 for 5 days. All right, and if I go back in a month later for the same thing, then I don't have to pay anything. So I'm not. Everything's not paid. Whereas if I have a supplement, everything is paid. The problem is your supplement goes up and up and up. My wife and I right now we're 78. We'd be paying about probably counting a drug plan and everything $600 a month for the supplement and the drug plan. Under Medicare Advantage, I don't pay anything. I pay $35 when I see a specialist, $15 when I see a regular doctor. To me, it's a real savings to me and my wife, and we've been in the hospital 3 times since we've had this program. But overall, we calculated our savings in the last 8 years has been around $40,000 for being on the Advantage program.
No, and I'm glad for you and your wife. It's working well for you. I mean, obviously, Mark has had a different experience, and thank you for the call, Jim, and the explainer. Mark wants to get out. What I'm hearing is that there's probably a time window by which Mark can do that. Mark, I would encourage you to call Cover Nash and see what Shane would tell you. Probably going to tell you about that time window, but there it is. 22 after the hour, an update on wasted bacon. Plus, we'll get Cameron's take on everything from shoes at the airport to chickens in Chattanooga. That's on the way next on Super Talk. Alpha and Omega has been around since 1998. They are a computer consultation firm owned and operated by my man, Michael Eddy, and Michael is great at what he does. As a business owner, obviously, your time's important. You don't want to spend downtime dealing with printers or computers or a server or IT work. You need a company that does it for a living, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's Alpha and Omega. Alpha and Omega gives you a real person on the phone if there's ever an issue for you. They will take complete ownership in helping all of your IT issues, from internet to printers, you name it. Whether they service it directly or not, if it is IT related, they will help you troubleshoot those issues, even going so far as to call those service providers for you. They don't pass the responsibility off to the next person. They handle it. If you're a business owner, you owe it to yourself to let the professionals manage your computers. Let Alpha and Omega take care of it for you. 615-784-0096. That's 784-0096, or go to ANO.net. ANO.net for our friends at Alpha and Omega Computer Consultation.
And coming up at the bottom of the hour news-wise, weapon shipments to Ukraine are back on, and an updated death toll in the Texas flooding. We'll also have today's closing money news. That's all at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Jay Harper, and for Ken Weaver today. 3347 says, you missed what the last caller was saying. He said that anyone who says that Medicare Advantage program is a scam is a liar. He's correct. It's not a scam. It's a very good program. My point was this, and if that is the case, then so be it. I stand corrected. But I do believe that there are occasions where individuals are being sold on these Advantage programs, and they do not know what they're being sold on, and the people on the other end of the phone know that.
Well, sadly, it's a level of competency. I mean, nobody really wants to say that, but as people get old, they have varying levels of competency.
My grandfather had no idea that he was a part of the Medicare Advantage program, and he was very frustrated because he was conditioned to call Medicare, and Medicare told him, you can't call us anymore, and he was very frustrated because he did not know what was going on. That's the only point that I make.
Yeah. It's a fair one to make.
Yeah, sure. Where are you on chickens in Chattanooga? You want to hear the story?
Yeah, I do.
So the basics of the story are simple. In the city of Chattanooga, you may have chickens on your property as long as you have more than 2 acres of property, 2 or more acres. The city wants to eliminate that restriction, and there is much debate about whether or not that is appropriate. In other words, no matter how much property you have at your house, you can have a chicken coop.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Even if it's very at the bare minimum, like quarter of an acre?
Right. So actually, in our neighborhood in Nolensville, this is an issue because our HOA rules say you can't have any farm animals, and that includes chickens. Because you don't want that people having roosters and waking everybody up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
But my take on it is, as long as it's not disturbing the neighbors in an HOA, like where you're close together, fine. But beyond that, do what you want.
You know, I kind of compromised on it because I was right there with you. I was having a conversation with our mutual friend Dale Jackson in Chattanooga about this, and they've had much conversation about it. And he's like, no, you shouldn't be able to have chickens in, tight-knit neighborhoods. And I was like, I don't have a problem with it. Maybe if you want to keep a rooster restriction because that becomes a noise complaint issue. If individual HOAs want to make up their own rules, that's their own business. But you know what? A compromise position might be I think a 2-acre restriction is ridiculous. I think, it'd be much more fair to say, okay, let's make it a 1/2 acre.
I mean, I've got.
But I default to freedom.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I am. If you want the neighborhood to make a rule, let them do it. You should not have any other government rules about who can have chickens.
At the same time, Jackson's point was, you live in a house and your neighbor moves in next door and you have very, very tight quarters. I mean, I call them ant farm neighborhoods where it's the houses are right next to one another.
Right.
And then here come the chickens with, there's not, chickens don't have the smell of goats, but, there is something that comes along.
What
with
next?
livestock.
We're going to have goat regs?
Raccoon regulations.
Jeez, we were trying to fix that.
You and I better get on the schneid right now on the raccoon front.
Yeah,
and
that's true. We need a pre-filed bill. We got to do that.
Now we got to find a legislator that looks at us with a straight face and doesn't start laughing when we make the pitch.
Yeah, I'm just asking for the same law in Tennessee that's in Arkansas. That's all.
I mean, goodness gracious.
Allow me to own 6 raccoons that I catch by hand.
Doesn't seem to be too much to
Obviously.
ask. It is 31 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening. It is 31 minutes past 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. I've got a full forecast and a traffic report coming up. President Donald Trump says U.S. weapons shipments to Ukraine are back on after a hold order was issued last week. ABC's Rachel Scott tells us the president is very unhappy with Russia right now.
The Russian leader unleashing his largest aerial assault yet on Ukraine, firing more than 700 drones into the country. It comes as Trump makes it clear his patience with Putin is wearing thin.
Meaningless.
The administration now resuming weapons shipments to Ukraine, shipments the Pentagon put on pause last week. The president has insisted he didn't know who ordered the pause.
The death toll in Texas has been updated to 119 this evening from the devastating flooding in the Texas Hill Country. Kerr County, they were hit the hardest, and that's where we find ABC's Matt Gutman with what the governor of Texas now plans to do.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott announcing a special session of the state legislature that will largely focus on flood preparation and relief. And just a reminder, Comfort, Texas, 15 miles downriver from here, it only cost them $70,000 to buy those 2 sirens there.
We now turn to our closing money news. For that, here's Michelle Frenzen.
Stocks rose sharply higher even as investors wait for the latest developments with President Trump's tariffs. The Dow added 217 points. The Nasdaq gained 192. The S&P rose 37. Tech and communication services stocks helped to push markets higher. Chip maker NVIDIA rose 1.8%, becoming the first publicly traded company to top $4 trillion in value. Microsoft was also up 1%, and Google's parent company added over 1%. Investors also got a behind-the-scenes look at the Federal Reserve Board's decision-making. The Fed released minutes from the June meeting that shows only a couple of officials supported interest rate cuts as soon as this month. They held rates steady last month, leading investors to think 2 rate cuts could come later in 2025. Ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino says she's stepping down after 2 years running Elon Musk's social media platform.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. We are looking at a crash still near 440. This is on 24 eastbound, right before exit 53 there at 440. Out in Bellevue, a crash, Highway 70S at Coley Davis Road. In Madison, a wreck, Gallatin Pike South at Hickory Street. We've got another one in the Metro Center area, 65 northbound, just after Rosa Parks Boulevard. That's been there a while, and they're looking to clean that one up. And in Brentwood, we've got a stalled vehicle, 65 southbound at the Old Hickory Boulevard South exit at exit 74. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, when a couple walks into Genesis Diamonds, the staff at Genesis, they've seen it before. They see it all the time. The eyes get so big. I mean, you just cannot believe or imagine the incredible, mind-blowing selection of sparkling jewelry that they have on display in both of their locations, Cool Springs and Green Hills. But don't you worry, because the staff at Genesis, the experts there, they make you feel totally at ease. They don't work on commission, so they're not trying to upsell you on anything. They take you by the hand. They offer you a beverage. First and foremost, you can walk around at your leisure. They'll ask you a few questions about your taste and your style, what you're looking for. They will give you an education, which I absolutely love, on diamond buying. And they're even told the secrets of the diamond buying business, the jewelry business. The consultants at Genesis are not on commission. I want to repeat that. They are not retail clerks. They are experts, and they are not transaction focused. They're focused on finding the right thing for you, that special something that they know that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life and pass down generation to generation. See the Genesis difference when you stop by either location. A true direct importer with rock bottom prices and a luxury experience. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Grace Point Healthcare is affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine in a direct pay fashion. You know, we've been talking a lot about insurance companies. Let's talk about a primary care provider that avoids the thumb of the insurance company when it comes to treatment decisions, which are always made between you and the medical staff of Grace Point Healthcare, never your insurance company. Why? Well, this is not a knock on insurance, and you can always file with your insurance for reimbursement. Bottom line is your doctor-based decision should be made between you and your physician without influence, and it costs less money that way, too. As a matter of fact, whether you're paying by the visit or enrolling in the Smart Care plan, you'll always know you're getting exceptional care at a more affordable price. The Smart Care plan is just $69 a month. That includes free office visits and labs and diagnostics throughout the entire year. At Grace Point, there's no long wait time in the waiting room. You'll never wait. You know, some places it's 2 weeks. Well, what good is that? You're sick today, right? Grace Point treats the whole body with a comprehensive medical approach. I simply just believe in the way that they do their practice and their business, and I encourage you to become a part of the Grace Point family. Grace Point Healthcare is located in the heart of Franklin. Call 599-6868 and schedule your appointment, 599-6868. Affordable and exceptional medicine. Deliver the old-fashioned way at Grace Point Healthcare. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 20 until 7. We'll hand off to Mark Levin, the great one. My name is Matt Murphy. They call me the king of the osteophytes. Well, okay, I take that back. My name is Matt Murphy. I call me the king of the osteophytes. Cameron Smith is along as well. There's Jackson behind the glass, Jay Harper behind him. The gang's all here, and we thank you for being here as well. My grammar Nazi has weighed in on the. She's an English teacher, and she was actually agreeing with me. I should not call her a grammar Nazi. She was agreeing with me on the conch thing.
Red coat.
Sure. You know, had a bloody monarchy to run. So English teacher here, if I have 0.5 acres or more, the government or the HOA should have no control over how I use my land. I'm paying my taxes. Furthermore, as a disabled person, I use my 1.5 acres to grow my own food, so I don't have to complain about Medicare cuts. I'm trying to be self-sufficient, even though I can only work for 20 or 30 minutes before getting tired. Now, I mean, I agree that less interference through the government is more. I don't zoning is there for a reason. I don't want to move into a place and invest a lot of time, energy, and money into my residential property and have a hog farm, a commercial hog farm pop up next door.
Those are gross.
Right?
They are.
So I understand zoning, but I also understand if you want to have 5 or 6 chickens on your residence, I don't want the government interfering in the way that you want to live your life. So I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah, and we have this all the time in Nolensville because Nolensville, when I grew up in this area, was basically past the dump on Sunset. Like, there's nothing out there. The cows didn't even go that far.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're booming and going and growing and getting big. And people are like, well, we need to regulate and stop people from coming in and developing. I'm like, well, who stopped you?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's be a little consistent here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you like your house in this pastoral setting, but to tell the remaining farmers, sorry, you didn't get on this early enough.
Right.
Now we've got
you don't get to sell your farm.
Right. We get to look at your farm. Like, come on.
Well, and as far as HOA goes, I've had my past experiences with HOA, and anybody that's listened to this radio show for any length of time, you probably can figure out how that went. I would not move into a neighborhood with an HOA. Well, let me put it a different way. I would obviously read the HOA and make sure that it's something that I could live with, and it better damn well be a pretty light touch. In other words, hey, Murph, we're going to need, $100 a year for maintenance of the front.
Yeah, I mean, I've got one right now, and the reason I'm involved with the HOA is because, I mean, I've got some neighbors, not a lot of them, but some neighbors that are like, well, I want to come with a ruler and check out your grass. And I'm like, look, the management company can handle that, but like, that's not being a great neighbor when you run around and do that kind of stuff, and I don't like that.
Yeah, you're not going to get a good response from me. We sold our house in Helena.
Mm-hmm.
And just real quick, we sold our house in Helena, and our plan was to find property and build on it. And between the time that we sold the house and the building, we knew we needed about a year of a rental. And so we moved into a rental property and ultimately did not build because Nashville happened, but moved into the rental property and, had just moved, had been there 2 days and took 2 trash cans out to the road. I wasn't quite sure when the trash came and went.
Ooh.
And we got a note, second day in, got a note attacked to our front door with no name, no telephone number, no anything, explaining to us the rules of the neighborhood. And it just snide and condescending, like, as they knew we were renters somehow. As renters, you may not understand how HOA were. Oh my God, it flew all over me. So that was the content of my radio show for the next day.
Never
HOA
again.
Karen. Flies all over me. What, I don't want to dive too deep into it because it's been talked to death. I feel that way. But I'm curious your thought on the Epstein stuff.
Yeah. You said transparency. You said you were going to come in. We're going to have transparency on this, the Kennedy files, all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, why are you even talking about it anymore? Like, that's just weird.
I thought the Trump response was a bad look for him yesterday. And the only logical conclusion that I can come to, because I don't believe the conspiracy that the Mossad runs our American government. I don't think AIPAC runs our American government. It doesn't. But the only logical conclusion that I can come to is that there are some level of intelligence assets involved in some or all of this that they feel like it is better, because what they're doing is just playing the delay game. They feel like if they just shut it down, that those that are demanding it will eventually just stop talking about it.
Yeah. The problem for me in all this is I think it's more likely folks like Jeffrey Epstein, they play both sides, right? They have friends on the right and friends on the left. Mm-hmm. And when we started hearing some of the names that this guy has been involved with, we're like, hey, the idea that people can do illegal things because they're rich and powerful
is disgusting.
Doesn't settle well with us, especially when it involves like underage kids. Like, that's gross. And we need to get to the bottom of it and see who else was involved here in doing criminal things.
Well, and I'll give you this as a final thought. One thing that bugs me more than anything, the same people that are telling us that there's no there, the same people that are happy to explain to us, hey, we looked into this and you know what, he killed himself. And, all these files that everybody's been talking about, they don't really exist and there's no information. And there truly are no third parties that we could possibly hold to account. I just want to flash back just real quick to this. This is Glenn Beck.
Black Book. FBI.
Talking to Kash Patel.
But
who has the Black Book?
That is, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic schools. Yeah. We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out.
So I play that clip to say Kash Patel last year, Glenn Beck asked him, who has the Epstein's Black Book? FBI. Wait, but who? Director of the FBI. Cameron, I'll ask you, who's currently the director of the FBI?
Kash Patel.
Right. Now he says that book doesn't exist. So for me to be comfortable, you owe it to the people through transparency to step up to a podium and say, I spouted off at the mouth a lot last year about crap that I didn't know about. And I said that I knew things that I didn't know then, and I'm sorry.
Yes.
But you don't do that. You just say, no, the Black Book doesn't exist. Well, you sure as hell believed it existed a year ago.
What's funnier is Dan Bongino was also doing it. They were both very much like, hey, we know this. We know where it is. We know what's going on.
We know exactly what, and they sold their listeners a load of absolute garbage based on what they're saying today. Mm-hmm. Dan Bongino today, and I know a lot of y'all love him, today he is basically saying that Dan Bongino of a year ago was full of bull squeeze.
Yes. And I think that's actually probably true, right?
I do too.
But no, you're not going to get the apology like, yeah, we were saying it. We got a little excited. We got in here. I think most of the time on conspiracy stuff, I don't weigh in on any of that. I'm like, this is dumb. But on this one, when you see rich and powerful people covering for rich and powerful people, it sends up smoke signals for everybody. And so my point is, all I want you to tell, I don't know whether he committed suicide or somebody offed him, like, okay, that's one thing. But my bigger thing is, you're telling me you got to the bottom of this and the only criminal charges that are brought have already been handled. Really?
With Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein himself.
And Epstein.
So all of the trafficking of all of the girls that they were taking to this island were for Epstein.
Yeah.
You know,
nobody believes that.
Nobody believes it.
And my point is, because these guys play both sides, my concern is there are friendlies that are implicated here that have done not good things, or at a minimum, things that would look really bad. They're like, nah, let's see if we can just kind of submarine this.
On another front, Donald Trump has kind of pivoted on an issue that you and I were talking about a little while ago on the podcast, and that is the issue of Ukraine and Russia. I don't consider what's happening a flip-flop. Maybe some do.
I mean, you can call it if you want it, but I mean, he's changed his position.
I think he's changing positions based on the response that he's getting from Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, and this for me is interesting because I've said all along, Vladimir Putin's not acting in good faith. He wants to get the gang back together. He wants the Soviet bloc back together. He's not content with establishing the lines that were there before he attacked Ukraine. Like, come on. Trump, look, we have a different approach. But Trump said, we can do this the easy way, and I'm going to kind of give you an out. I'm going to give you a way to save face and say, you're not the bad guy. They're not the good guy. This is just a difference. And that's where people like to me, I'm like, no, he's definitely the bad guy. But this is Trump in diplomacy. He's trying to be nice with this guy to get him to do the thing.
Sweeten him up, and you get the best deal possible.
And he didn't. So, now he's going to, I think, what looks like, this is going to go poorly for Putin. And just seeing what happened with Iran, Trump's not afraid to do controversial things to accomplish foreign policy objectives. We just saw that. And the fact that Putin has no interest in negotiating here or coming to the table, I think it's a misplay by Putin. And I don't think it's going to go well.
Well, I like the idea that Trump is demonstrating a willingness to be nimble, a willingness to move on an issue. And he took a lot of holy hell at the beginning of the administration because he didn't play the black hat, white hat game.
Yes. And I was somebody that gave it to him. I'm like, This isn't a close call.
And I felt like at the time, and I'm not playing Murphy was right here, but I felt like at the time, well, you're going to get a lot closer to a better deal if you treat Putin nicely. Well, he did that. He tried that. And apparently it has not gone well, in as much as Putin doesn't seem to be interested in achieving peace.
And I'm going to give Trump the benefit of the doubt here and say he genuinely thought, hey, if I give this guy away to save face and say Ukraine's not part of the UN, you get this Donbass and Crimea region, and we call it a day, right? That he genuinely thought he could sell that deal really quickly, and then this is over, and we're basically back at status quo. That clearly has not been the case. He's visibly frustrated. The fact that he's calling it BS and saying
the word.
I'm talking to this guy, and he's just blowing smoke up my butt. I think that this is either Trump has to get aggressive with Putin here, or Putin just looks like the winner and saying, hey, I just told you to go pound sand, and you did.
And through it all, I will say, and my entire goal is not to just applaud and laud Donald Trump for these things, but it has become increasingly clear that what he has said from the beginning is true. His desire is to stop the war and stop the killing.
Sure.
And everything else is negotiable with regard to how we accomplish that. Even some of the non-negotiables that people want to, everything's on the table for Trump.
And it's my job to, as a pundit, to speak with clarity on, hey, Russia's clearly the aggressor here. They started this thing. That's what I'm supposed to say. But, in retrospect, looking at it, I need to be honest, too, that, like, his job is, he's the president of the United States.
And if he wants to act as mediator,
he's got to be diplomatic.
Both parties need to feel like at least he's going to be fair-minded.
I can't be very diplomatic with Vladimir Putin by saying, like, hey, you're a jackbooted thug, right? That's not going to work.
53 after the hour. Wrap it up in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Friends, by now you've heard me talking about the wonderful organization that is Men of Valor. They come into our prison systems in the state of Tennessee. They sit down with men in crisis and peril. I mean, bad guys, bad men, takers of their communities, not givers. And they speak to them in a language that they understand, and they bring them to the power of God, to the power of Jesus Christ, through Bible study, through helping them understand that they can live a better life on this earth and achieve eternal salvation in the next life if they bring their lives around and stop being those takers and become givers. It truly is a special thing to be a part of this organization. And by the way, I want you to save the date right now. Wednesday, October 1st is the date I want you to save. Because at Liberty Hall at the Factory in Franklin, you are invited to the second annual Men of Valor Gala. You can join them for an elegant evening of dinner, live music, participated in live and silent auctions, supporting the mission of Men of Valor, and you'll get to meet special guests Tim and Demi Lee Tebow. It's going to be a wonderful evening, Wednesday, October 1st. Go to movministry.com for more information. That's movministry.com.
Pastor and author J.C. Ryle once said, contrary to popular belief, hell is not a place God sends only the worst of the worst. Hell is our default destination. What that means is we need someone to save us, or we stand before God condemned to hell. But we cannot save ourselves. Only God can do that. Ephesians 2:8 and 9 says, for by grace you have been saved through faith, that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not as a result of works, so that no one may boast. Jesus Christ placed all believers' sins upon himself and died to pay for those sins. Why did he have to die, though? Because Scripture explicitly says the wages of sin is death. Wages means the same as payment, so payment for sin is death. There are no second chances to accept Christ and avoid hell after you die. So if you feel a prompting in your heart, it may be God drawing you. Scan the QR code to learn more.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's a spot of good news for those of you just about to get home. Perhaps you're already there. You might have heard by now that the TSA, that would be the Transportation Security Administration, is no longer requiring the removal of shoes at our airports across the United States of America. Cameron, what say you?
If we have a terrorist attack that's based on a shoe after this, good grief.
But we're not going to.
Don't you feel so much safer that TSA's there?
I don't understand why that little zippy machine that I have to raise my arms for, why can't that handle the shoe situation from the beginning? I mean, assuming
we could tell you, but we'd have to kill you.
I assume.
I mean,
what's in the small of your back? I'm just hot and sweaty back there. I'm sorry.
They will always catch my aerosol sunscreen, but I've literally had bullet casings accidentally in my bag, and that gets right through.
My new shoulder, I asked questions about what's going to happen at the airport with my new shoulder. You know what they said?
What?
Everybody has said, just tell them you have a new replacement shoulder. You'll be fine. I was like, well, that doesn't sound very safe. But more on weight. Do not speak on any other issue before we talk about Wasted Bacon next week, okay?
That's fine.
Good gracious.
We're getting it done.
Out of time. Wasted Bacon, the album is about to drop.
It is.
Coming up later on in the month. We'll tell you about it next time. It's time for Mark Levin. So long, everybody.